Hello, my name is Waldo.
And I am the formerly regularly available Thomas.
This is Thomas. You found me. I'm here. I'm right here. Where's Waldo? He's here. He should turn on his chat though. Maniac. I was making shorts the other day and I had chat turned off. There it is. Look at chat. It's so cool.
I have to mute the YouTube stream.
Yes.
There we go.
I didn't get a double audio today because I am a professional and important streamer now. You see?
I'm
All
glad
those
we've finally sorted that out.
all those terrible mistakes of the past. Those are over. Those are done with. We're going to make new mistakes. We're going to make new terrible ideas. We're going to do all kinds of awful things. And
New mistakes are better than old mistakes.
yeah, he has recovered. So while you were gone, Thomas, I made up ridiculous lies about where you were. Uh,
Oh, was I in a coma
you
or
you
experiencing cancer?
you saw about 7 minutes of the Netflix movie Nimona, and it was so woke that it puts you into like a, a catatonic state. Yeah,
What did I see?
Nimona, Nimona, on Netflix.
Is that like a sequel to Moana?
No, 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 not at all. Completely separate thing. But um, it is so woke that it gave you fits, and that's the very silly lies that I make up about where you are every week.
Actually, the truth is, I drank a can of Bud Light, and that's what put me
Oh,
down.
he had the Bud Light, folks. He had
Yeah,
the trans beer. It's terrible.
it put me down for weeks.
Uh, so I've got, let's see, I'm going to bring up my chat over here, pop up over there so I can read it no matter what I'm doing. There we go. And we're good. And everything is going. So if you are watching, please send us any links over here and I'll take a look at them. If you've got any news suggestions, any links to political things, send it my way. I try to read chat as quickly and easily as I can, but Waldo, you either need to turn yourself up or him down a little. I can bring him down a little, and but mine's maxed.
Don't bring me down. Don't bring me down. As he brings me down
As
more.
I bring you
We'll see
down
how it
more. Yeah,
is.
that's how it goes. Yeah, I have to be the loudest. Um, Thanks for that heads up, Dr. Phipps. Perfect. KBP. See, and then we got this new chat thing. I made KBP a chat mod. The power has gone straight to his head. Uh, he keeps banning people uh,
Good.
for just no reason at all. I mean, the stream would have way more viewers if KBP would just stop banning all the people who just come in and say hello. Um, he's
I mean, the last
addicted.
people I remember banning were those folks that wanted to come on and say spicy things, and they were very insistent
Yeah, it's
on
true.
being a part of the stream.
Yeah, it's true. I haven't had anybody try that since then.
What a day that was, too.
Yeah,
And
it was a fun
and
day.
I gotta say, I'm patting myself on the back. I fucking called
Yeah,
it.
100%. Yeah, you saw them coming. You saw his name where I didn't see it. What I saw, I'm gonna tell you what I saw. I saw a person in chat that wasn't one of my best friends, and I said, "This is it. This is your moment, Waldo. You're a famous and important YouTube streamer now." And my heart started
And I
beating.
said, this guy's about to get on here and say the N word.
That's what you saw, and you saw it coming, but I was too excited, and I was like, "Look, somebody's here. Somebody's paying attention to me. It's great." And so yeah, I got excited. You were like, "Hey, dude, look at that username," and I was like, "Oh no, look at that username." Uh, so yeah, and you warned me, and I had my finger right on the mute button, and right as he started to get to the spicy language, I cut him off.
Oh, it was perfect.
It was very lucky too. Yeah, it was very good.
But hopefully, we don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah, shouldn't be an issue.
Now we've got classy people watching us stream.
Much classier people on Kick, obviously. Um, So I am dual streaming to the Kick and the YouTube. I suppose I should bring up the YouTube chat, though I don't think anybody ever uses it. Kick just has a much better chat. It has all these cool bots. KBP is now addicted to the slots that I have over here. If you want to be like KBP and get a new addiction, you can do that. For every time someone chats, they get 5 points, and they can roll them on a slot machine. As you see right there, KBP just rolled the slot machine. This is his new addiction. He has a problem, and I am enabling it for my own benefit.
How much does a roll cost?
I want to say 50 points.
How much do points cost?
If every time you chat something, you get 5 points. So,
Oh,
so
okay.
if
It's
you're
like
if
the
you're looking at
bubbles
that
on
screen
Twitch.
right now,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. If you're looking at that screen right there, Doc Phipps has like 15 points because he tossed in three chats.
I dig it.
Uh, then yeah, that's just something silly and fun to do while I'm also playing video games. Because on the weeknights, usually what I do is on Monday and Wednesday, I'll do like a. Dude, KBP has 785 points. Yeah, look at him. He's winning. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I cruise the news. I go down political Reddit real quick just to check the headlines. Then I play a video game or something like that.
Fair enough.
Killer
Yeah,
Max
and
in IKEA Hell. Okay.
I've got probably at least a few more weeks before things settle down for me. So
Okay. Yeah.
just a heads up.
Totally fine with me.
Um,
Um, I'm getting better at the solo streaming. It is, I think, more fun and exciting when I have you to argue with rather than a written word. I don't know if you noticed it, but I found the secret hidden Republican playbook, and I've been reading that on Saturdays.
oh, I have not seen that. I
Yeah,
will have to watch some of your
pu-
streams here
published by the
and
Heritage
catch up.
Foundation. It's a book published by the
Oh
Heritage
boy.
Foundation called.
Well, the Heritage Foundation is traditionally conservative,
Yeah,
I
they
think.
so far.
So if that's the playbook that you're reading from, I might actually have to see that. And
Yeah,
I mean,
I can send you the whole PDF. I mean,
I'd probably discount it if it came from like the Huffington Post or something. But if
right.
the Heritage Foundation is posting the Republican playbook, I mean,
Yeah, they wrote the book and they want the next Republican president to read the book. Or since Trump hasn't ever read a book ever in his entire life, I suspect that he would just hand the book to someone else to read and then do the things that it says. So far, I mean, I think 190 pages into it. It's 900 pages long. Um, but like I'm 190 pages in. Apparently, I mean, to boil it down, really boil it down, Reagan good, Carter bad,
um,
according to them. He,
well, I'm gonna give you the reactionary conservative take on that
hmm
statement. Reagan bad, Carter bad.
Reagan bad, Carter worse.
Carter, infinitely
Okay,
worse. Yeah.
okay, okay.
But Reagan bad. Reagan bad, Carter worse
So
by
it's a
far.
it's a it's a positional thing. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, it
I
depends on
mean,
where
I
you're
guess
standing.
maybe the Heritage Foundation is. Would you compare this to Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals?
mm, maybe. I haven't actually read the rules for animals. All I've read is like people talking about it and discussing it and little excerpts from it and stuff like that. So maybe, because it actually does have a specific definition of what the chief of staff does. Like I skim over that in the book because I'm not going to read exactly what the chief of staff does, but it says specifically, hey, psst, hey, Donald, this is what the chief of staff does. You need one of those. And then it goes down into just shocking detail of every single position underneath that position within the.
Oh,
Yeah, oh
that's way
yeah,
different than that's very in depth. It sounds like.
yeah, very in depth, and what they ought to do and what they ought to be doing.
No, Rules for Radicals is a very a broad sort of like general playbook
Mm.
where it's like here's how you make the other guy look really bad.
Oh, I see.
Steps
More of a
1
more
through
of a
13.
strategy. Okay, more
Yeah, yeah,
strategy,
yeah.
more tactics maybe.
Exactly.
Okay,
It's all tactical,
it's all
optical
tactics.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
The one I'm reading is all strategy, and you're talking tactics. So there's a slight difference. Killer Mech,
Right,
you don't
right.
have enough points to play slots. Chat
You
more.
better comment more there,
Chat
Killer Man.
more, loser. Okay. So yeah, that's how it's been going. That's how it's been doing. Um,
Well, as for what I've been up to,
mhm,
so people don't think I've just been dead from a woke coma, I
mhm,
suppose. Um, I am moving, and I'm getting. I have a roommate now.
mhm,
I went to a wedding last week on a 3-week notice. That was great.
mhm. The
And
wedding or your invitation? Did they
what's
did
that?
they did they say, "Hey, let's get married in 3 weeks," or did they just send the
Um,
invitations out late?
no, it was let's get married in 3 weeks.
Ah, all right, all right.
Yeah, not quite a shotgun wedding, but very, very close to
Mm,
one.
okay.
For it's very similar to a shotgun wedding. I had less than a month's notice that it was happening, and it was a childhood friend of mine from uh 20 years ago now.
Mm,
I've known the guy, so I had to be there.
yeah, yeah. Gotta go to that.
And yeah, work's been a little crazy lately, and
Mhm.
between that and moving and going to a wedding, and also my parents are flying out this month to come see me. Um, yeah, that's where I've been and what I'll be doing until I'm able to get back on a regular schedule.
Okay. Well,
But
as always, you're welcome to come here. Usually, what I've been doing lately is uh, Kick requires more streaming, so I knock out like a Monday and a Wednesday, Monday night and a Wednesday night stream. What day is it? Today's Wednesday. Yeah. Usually an hour or two, but just play some video games on those nights, and then Saturday I do the full news breakdown, the full politics thing, and then the the Republinomicon is what I'm calling it uh,
well,
for the playbook,
all right.
the Republinomicon. It's very fun, and then I read it in a scary voice. It's very fun.
Well, I gotta say, the field is not as rosy as the last time I was on the stream.
Yeah, the you talking about the Republican primaries?
Yeah,
It's
I'm
a
not very happy right now.
it's a mess. I agree completely. The I think yeah, this past Saturday I saw a thing about Ramaswamy who talked about keeping China off of Taiwan until we build our own microprocessor plants, and then they can have them. It was very weird the way he put it. He was like, "Yeah, China better not mess with them until we get our stuff up and running, and after that they can do whatever they want." I was like, "Wait, whoa, you're on your own, Taiwan. We don't need you anymore.
Eh,
What have you done for us lately, Taiwan?"
I mean, realistically speaking, as a country, from a national security standpoint, we probably should be capable of manufacturing most of our semiconductor technology
I agree. We should
in the
be able to build
country.
some. Yeah, I don't think it's a great idea to have them all in one place. Uh,
Yeah, actually, that's one of the W's I'm willing to give to the Biden administration
hmm,
is the CHIPS Act to bring some semiconductor manufacturing back to the states
yeah, I think so too.
via certain incentives and subsidies and whatnot
Hmm.
to build those manufacturing plants here. Good idea. And then yes, once we're capable of building our own, fuck Taiwan. I don't give a fuck.
Mm, they're an ally.
They might be
Let's
a
not
good
abandon our
foothold.
friends. Let's not abandon our friends. I'd rather not abandon our friends when they can't provide us with something valuable anymore. That makes us look bad.
I think
But
it's
I
just a
recognize
matter
that
of
it is
pragmatism.
incredibly complicated.
I
And
think China wants Taiwan.
Hmm.
and they're going to take Taiwan at some point. So it's a matter of, do we start World War III over Taiwan
Hmm.
if we're already able to produce the things we need that are current? Like, if we can't replace their semiconductor manufacturing,
Hmm.
then we have to fight over Taiwan
Hmm.
because otherwise,
They'll just blow up that one thing and then we'll stop fighting. Also, if they're going to take it, I don't think they're going to do it militarily. I think they're going to do it neoliberal economically. You know what I mean?
I think they will do it militarily,
Okay.
but it will be dangerously expensive for them to do it. Um, but they will not, at least intentionally, they won't they won't damage the economic uh, production of the country unless it's absolutely necessary. So like
Mm, okay.
they won't damage the Taiwan semiconductor plants.
You don't think so?
Um, no, they won't do that on purpose because I mean,
If.
if you were to take Taiwan,
Hmm.
if you're China and you want to take Taiwan, why do you want to take Taiwan? Because Taiwan is a major hub of production for semiconductors. So if you blow up the semiconductor plants, you've just destroyed the reason for why you even want the island in the first place.
Haven't they wanted it for like 50 or 60 years? Haven't they wanted it for a while?
I think it's always been an economic hub.
Okay, maybe it's always been an economic hub. Okay, but if we thought militaristic actions were going to happen, they would. If they bombed that one thing, that one sector, just the processors, America would, under Ramaswamy and possibly even a conservative leadership, just abandon them and not help the war effort. That would get us out of that
Uh,
war. Um,
at the moment,
mhm.
no.
No.
If China invaded Taiwan tomorrow,
Hmm.
we would probably go to war with them,
Hmm.
regardless of who was in
to
charge.
to keep those microprocessors, right? This is a
Yes,
resource that we have to have. If the microprocessors are
exactly.
off the table, I don't think we would go
If
to
it's
war.
off the table,
Yeah,
if if we are
we.
able to bring the manufacturing of those semiconductors back to the U.S.,
Mhm.
then Taiwan becomes less of an asset
Right. We would
to
build our
us. And
if they dropped one big bomb on it tomorrow, we would stop associating with them. We would continue our plans to build our own. China would take the place and then either build them up or build their own in their own mainland. That's how I would see a military thing. But that if they want those those microprocessors, they will economically take the island.
I do think that it would be extremely and disgustingly expensive for China to do that.
Well, sure.
Um, I mean, you got to think of it. A ship, or well, really, a ship of any kind, a transport boat, a warship, costs a lot to build, and it only takes one missile or one torpedo to blow one of those things up
Hmm.
and get rid of it.
Hmm.
And Taiwan has pretty substantial defenses
Oh, okay.
to
Yeah,
prevent that.
that was the
So
other thing I was thinking about. I don't know how their defenses are set.
it would be extremely costly for China to actually try to take Taiwan,
Hmm.
to the point where I don't know if the cost benefit is there for them to actually do that.
Hmm.
But if they do, then it is in our best interests to bring the manufacturing of our chips back home.
Yeah, I would agree. Us having the ability to make our own would be good too. Uh, we can discuss aliens later. I'll put my tinfoil hat on later. But enough foreplay we have to talk about Donald Trump.
Oh boy. And my full disclosure, I'm coming into this 100% blind.
Okay, window
So you're
capture.
gonna
Let me
have to.
set my window caps here. And bam, on the screen. Here we go. Okay, so completely blind. Um, 2 days ago, Monday, uh, the state of Georgia uh, district attorney laid out charges against him. Lots of them, RICO charges. Uh, 13, I want to say, charges against him personally. 98-page indictment handed down by a Fulton County grand jury on Monday represents the most aggressive effort to hold Donald Trump and allies accountable for their efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The document I have over here, if we need it, uh, is a staggering in its breadth and its ambition of its charges. 41 counts of crimes in it, including 13 against Donald Trump himself. So if we pop over here, we look at it. This is the big one, violation of the Georgia RICO Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. That's the big one. And everybody on this list falls under that one. This is suggesting that Donald Trump intentionally and willingly led uh, and organized the overthrow of the election in Georgia.
This is very interesting.
Some of the other charges, we've got solicitation of the violation of oath by a public officer. So that is suggesting that he solicited the people in charge of the Georgia elections to overturn it. This is the phone call, that perfect phone call that he talks about, where he says, "Find me 11,000 votes." They are suggesting that he is soliciting the official in Georgia, the public officer, to violate their oath of office by changing or finding or misleading the official votes. False statements in writings, so that's to do with the lawyers and stuff like that, where I don't think, yeah, Donald Trump doesn't have number 3 under here, so he doesn't have 3 false statements in writings. So this is something that his attorneys did when they were saying that he won or saying that this is true and this is illegal and things like that. So they put in false documents. I think
I'm
impersonating a public officer, that one's to do with the people who were pretending to be the electors that are going to go to the electoral college.
I'm definitely um curious.
Hmm.
I mean, you know as well as anyone that Trump is not my first pick
Oh, I know, I know,
for president,
I know.
but these charges are they don't seem quite right to me. It does seem RICO, right, was it's anti-racketeering,
Hmm.
which was meant to target like mob bosses
Hmm.
and mafia leaders and whatnot.
Hmm. Mob bosses often pay people to do things for them and hire lawyers to then carry things out. You know that what was it? The Rudy Giuliani used to attack people on RICO charges all the time. The Cosa Nostras or whatever the hell they were, and the Gambinis and stuff like that.
Well,
Uh,
right, and
and those guys had thousands of lawyers. You know, they had lawyers all
I
over the place.
sure, and I had to pull up just to make sure I had it right.
Hmm.
Uh, the RICO Act makes it unlawful to acquire, operate, or receive income from an enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. And I'm wondering what it is that they have charged Trump with that is in line with RICO.
Uh, the actions being the election fraud and the RICO being him having so many people who work under him, and he told them to do illegal things. And then those people did illegal things, and then they hired other people to do illegal things. He is at the top of a pyramid of illegal things. Doc Phipps, I think, has a pretty good explanation there. Racketeering activity covers a range of crimes that involve committing, attempting, and to commit, and conspiring to commit, or intentionally aiding, soliciting, coercing, and imitating another to commit a specified list of crimes. So yeah, the Donald Trump tells his lawyer to do something illegal. His lawyer does that illegal thing. He is now racketeering.
Interesting.
That's the idea, anyway. That's what they're going for with this. And these are all the people that got charged as well. So we got Donald Junebug Trump, Rudy
Well, hold
Giuliani.
on.
Hmm.
Engaging in a pattern of illegal scheming and activity for profit is the definition of racketeering. So, did Trump profit on what he did? Because in order to prove RICO, you would have to prove that he profited on it. And I don't think that's possible.
Winning an election is a profit. I mean,
But he
it's a
lost.
it's a comp. Yeah, he lost, but he tried to break the law to win. That would be a profit. That would be an increase. He is doing these things to benefit himself. So trying to rob a bank and failing is still a crime.
So, attempted racketeering is what they're.
No, I don't think so. No, I think they're going with actual racketeering, and I don't. I can see what you're getting at. Trying to overturn an election and failing is. I mean, I don't know if that's attempted.
I think that. Uh, I think that the chat is very much against me here.
No, I'm sorry.
But also on the same point, I think that the RICO Act in the first place uh, was not really meant for this situation. It was meant to stop uh, the Don Corleones. You know,
Right.
um, this was meant to prevent things like murderings and kidnappings and
Well,
extortions.
it's
Like
against organized crime, is what it is. The RICO's
yeah,
to
exactly. It's against organized
organized crime.
crime.
So
Um,
state officials have been using it to go after uh, drug dealers and the complex network of money moving up and down a a chain of drug dealers. You know.
um, yeah, exactly. And but I just don't think it's appropriate for uh, charging Trump for whatever they're trying to charge him for. Um, if they're charging him for inciting the January 6th riots.
Oh no,
Um,
no, that's the federal case. This is the state of Georgia. This is a different case. Um, Jack Smith, the scary guy with the beard, is not involved in this at all. This is only the state of Georgia. This is not even a federal case. That's some of the other details that we'll get into. Like, yeah, 13 against Trump. It's just by Georgia and unpardonable by. So let's see. Trump cannot pardon himself, something he could theoretically do even if he is convicted on similar charges pending in a federal court. In Georgia, a defendant must serve 5 years in prison before a pardon is even considered by the State Board of Pardon and Paroles. Like other states, the governor of Georgia does not have the ability to unilaterally pardon people. At the moment, the governor of Georgia cannot pardon anybody for from this, and neither can the federal because it's a state crime. This is
I
only
don't.
Georgia.
Uh, all right. Now that so again, I was 100% unprepared
Oh, I know,
today.
I know.
Um, just from what I'm seeing on your screen,
Hmm. We'll call it a React stream.
it doesn't stick.
You don't think so?
No, no chance.
How do you figure?
This is 0% chance of sticking just from what I've just read, and maybe there's more that gives more context to it and whatnot. Uh, well, hold on. Go
Oh,
back
sorry,
to the
sorry, sorry, sorry.
article.
Sorry. Oh, article. Got it.
scroll up a little bit. Um, so the first thing is that they are assuming that there is enough evidence to prove that Trump was the one that coordinated all these things
Mm-hmm.
that they are trying to indict him for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never going to happen.
You don't think so?
No.
If I understand
He won't
the
have to
RICO thing
pardon
correctly.
himself because they will not be able to connect the dots back to him in the way that would be required to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
They
It just won't happen.
they only need one or two of these people. These are all the people who are also on trial. These are not rich people. These are not millionaires. Eastman is, Meadows is. Meadows is probably helping the with the federal case. He needs Mark Meadows to say, "I was doing what Donald Trump told me to do because he told me to do, and that's who I work for." Mark Meadows was his chief of staff. I want to say he is uh, uh, a lawyer, and he is been told by his client to do something. That proves the RICO case, right? Like,
No.
the thing you're doing, Mr.
Um,
Meadows, is illegal.
not only
Mr.
that,
Meadows says, I did it because Trump told me to. Mr.
no,
Trump, why did you tell Mr. Meadows to do something illegal?
no, just looking at
No?
all of it, no, none of it is going to end up being connected. So, for example, Mark Meadows,
Mm-hmm.
solicitation of violation of oath by public
No.
officer is what he's being
He's 1 in
charged with.
28. He's
Yeah.
number 1, which is RICO, and number 28. So number 28 over here is solicitation of the violation of oath by public officer. So Mark Meadows did number 28 according to the evidence that the state of Georgia has. The state of Georgia feels confident in giving Mark Meadows solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. Now,
Is that not what it just said?
no, I don't. Well, did you? Sorry, I wasn't reading. I thought you were
I
reading the one
said
right
Mark
next to it.
Meadows
Okay.
charged with
Okay.
solicitation of violation of oath by public
Oh, you
officer.
did say that. Okay. Sorry. I was
Yeah.
reading. I thought you were reading number 5. I put together. You went from this side to that side because I didn't know it was on 28. I was like, oh, you're reading number 5. Um, but number 5 and number 28 are the same. Probably a different public officer. Regardless. Okay. So you were right. I'm a crazy person. Mark Meadows is
So
being charged with that.
he's charged with that,
Mm-hmm.
and then count number one
Is the RICO.
is the RICO,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Saying that he did it at the behest and the benefit of Donald Trump.
If Mark Meadows goes into the court and says, at the advice of my counsel, I plead the fifth.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's possible for them to actually make a connection between Mark Meadows and a direct order from Donald Trump under the RICO charge. And I don't know if it's possible for them to
If
prove the solicitation charge either.
if they plead the fifth, then the defense and the prosecution make a case to the jury, who then makes a decision.
Well,
That
right.
doesn't mean
But
that they can't move forward. They'll see his pleading the fifth and not pay attention to it and just listen to the lawyers for each side, and then make a decision.
well, pleading the fifth and is theoretically speaking, you wouldn't have. Well, the lawyers would only make the case that the other side doesn't have a case, rather than making a positive case for their client if their client only pleads the fifth. I think that this particular indictment is going to be nearly impossible to actually convict someone on. They will probably get a handful of convictions, and the way I see it playing out is going to be exactly the way that the Russia probe played
Mm-hmm.
out, which is the Russia probe, Jesus Christ, the Russia probe um, resulted in like what 18 indictments and convictions, something
Hmm.
like that,
Hmm.
if I recall. But none of those 18 indictments were actually related to Russian interference in the 2016 election.
Right. They were
They were all totally like,
steps away from it. I know, and a lot of
so
them
yeah,
didn't have anything to do with Russia at all. Some of them didn't have anything to do at all. It was just
exactly.
crimes that they bumped into by accident.
Yep,
Um,
they found it on accident.
and
And
I,
that is
mhm,
what I suspect is going to happen with this indictment. You're going to get probably how many people, how many defendants are there? 40?
18, if I remember correctly.
18?
Yeah,
Looks like a lot.
it's this list here.
18 defendants. You're probably looking at 5 indictments. None of them will be Trump, and all of them will be for things that don't end up coming back to Trump in the end. Is how it's going to go. And then
Five of these people are going
the
to be
media
5 of these people are going to be uh,
imprisoned. Yeah.
indicted and found guilty,
Yep.
and you're not going to be able to connect that to Donald Trump.
Nope.
I can't imagine how. Wouldn't I
Same
know
way as the same
I
way
know
as the Russian thing went.
well
It's
because
going to
they
go
were
exactly the same way.
that was far more it was far less a dangerous thing that they were doing then. With the Russia deal is far smaller a deal than this is. This is a much bigger deal with lots of evidence. With this document has 98 pages of like evidence that they are presenting. Jenna Ellis herself specifically, I read this on something else today, is crowdfunding her lawyers because she does not have the money. And
Okay,
apparently,
so she'll be in jail.
right. And what does she do to lower her sentence? She's crowdfunding her lawyers because she doesn't have any money, and Donald Trump is not paying for her lawyers, either
Well, here's the
either
problem
because
though:
he
is
won't or because she doesn't want him to.
what does
She's
she
gonna
do to lower her
say,
sentence? Except for the fact, hold on,
hmm
except for the problem where uh, witnesses or defendants, etc., are not allowed to coordinate any information with other witnesses or defendants and whatnot. In fact, it's thrown out of court if a witness has even seen or viewed any of the proceedings on television, for example. They
well, she's
throw
not a
out
witness.
that
She's a
witnesses. Well,
defendant.
she's a defendant.
She's a defendant.
So she is not allowed actually to watch any of the proceedings
They're
under
all
a reasonable
at the
court
moment.
proceeding.
They're all being tried together. I don't think that they're going to stick with that. Mark Meadows has already suggested that his be moved out to a federal level, and that might happen. I don't think that Trump's will, but
Well, I'll get to where I'm
sure,
going.
sure.
Is she's not allowed to coordinate with the other defendants, and she's also not allowed to watch any of the uh, other defendants' testimonies and whatnot.
I think she
When she
is.
gets up there, no, she's not.
Literally, this is going to be on TV, man. This is literally going to be posted on television
She's literally not allowed
to
to
watch
watch
the other
the.
defendants in her case. I think she is.
Yes, no, she's not.
I haven't heard anything about that, but okay. So you're thinking that if she does, they'll catch her and say that she was
The
what?
whole point is, first of all, they're going after Trump, and when you call a witness in a case, that witness is not allowed to have watched any testimony that was already offered in the case. And the whole point is to avoid allowing the other witnesses or defendants to match their stories to the stories of the previous uh, people.
Hmm.
And
And
maybe,
she
actually,
could she
chat brings up a good point.
yeah, she
Maybe I'm
could be a
wrong
witness.
because she is a defendant and not a witness. And maybe she does flip. So
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
could
thinking.
see that.
I'm thinking that one, she is crowdfunding her own stuff right now. That suggests that Donald Trump is not paying for her lawyers. He pays for a lot of lawyers. He's paying for a lot of lawyers right now. In this case, lots and lots of them. He's paying millions, if not hundred, no, probably not hundreds of millions, but he's paying dozens of millions of dollars to lawyers, and they're all being tried together. Um, yeah, Doc Phipps is saying they're all being tried together. These are co-defendants in a very large RICO racketeering case.
That's fair. Okay,
So
so I'm
so
wrong.
yeah so yeah
Ignore
so
everything I said for
so
the
yeah
last
she
5 minutes.
might be a witness to things that Donald Trump did, but she is also a defendant in her own with her own charges. What was hers? She was Jenna Ellis counts 1 and 2, 2 being solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. So if she is not being represented by the same lawyers as Donald Trump, which it seems like she might not be, um, if he's not paying for her lawyers, that means his lawyers and hers aren't coordinating. I mean, they can coordinate. I think all these people have to have their own lawyers, right? And they're all going to have to coordinate. It's going to be a mess. There was a RICO cases get messy because if you have this many people, they each have 1 or 2 lawyers, and then each lawyer has a problem, and each one brings up their own reason to throw the case out, and then it just gets messy. I assume that if she's going to jail because she's been found guilty, I'm only picking her because I heard about her crowdfunding her lawyers today. Um, that she will be trying to present a defense, and if she's found guilty, she will do what she can to lower her own sentence. That's just unless she's a really, really hard die for Trump kind of thing, she will give them evidence. She will will become, I think, a witness, like you said, in the counts against Trump. So at which point she might say, yes, Donald Trump told me to do this, and this is illegal.
I still think this is going to be absurdly difficult to prove.
Yeah, I know. I think it's going to
Um,
be a circus and a mess.
I don't think they end up coming out with a worthwhile conviction. It'll be just like the Russia probe. They'll come out with a handful of uh, extraneous convictions on people, and it won't amount to much. I do want to address something I just saw in the chat, or
Hmm.
not just saw, but I saw it, and it was it's been in the back of my mind for a minute.
Sure.
Um, so hold on, let me go back to see what it was real quick. Um, Doc Phipps. Who is that, by the way? Is that someone we know?
It's a friend.
All right. The idea of charging someone with the highest possible crime and hoping that something minor sticks is not correct from a legal standpoint. Um, in fact, charging people with a lower crime than you know they've already committed so that you know it will stick is actually more common from a legal standpoint. Um, if you charge somebody with murder one and they actually committed murder three, then charging them with murder one means you lose your case. And then, because they've already been tried on the crime they committed and won their charge, then they are now immune to any further charges because of double jeopardy. So you can't overcharge people because overcharging them gets the charge thrown out and then they get off scot free. You have to charge them at the
Appropriately.
level.
Okay. Yeah, I get what you're I get your point. If we go too high, and then there's not enough evidence, and then it gets shot down, that murder one will go free and not be in trouble. Um, About to sneeze. Hang on. Yeah, I and do you think that's what's happening here? Is that this attorney general here went shot for the sun and is gonna fail?
I think it's most likely.
Okay.
I think that it's they probably could have come up with some lower charges that they could have actually gotten convictions on.
Hmm.
Um, I think they're going for the higher charges for political reasons.
Okay. You think
And
okay they're going for higher charges because it's Donald Trump and we hate that guy?
yeah, yeah, I think so, actually.
Okay.
Tinfoil hat completely on.
Hmm.
I think that is the reason. Um, I don't think anything will come of it because it's way too high of a charge to actually convict him on, and there's no way you prove it. But they don't like Trump. They want to get in the news. This is political gamesmanship. They want to get in the news with the highest possible charges. They're saying Trump, the mafia boss Trump, is charged with RICO
I, I've
violations,
been calling him a mafia boss for years, but okay.
and that's what they're doing.
Hmm.
And this, he will not be convicted, but it will be in the news until it's resolved. It's an election strategy. That's all it is. And I
Um,
mean,
I think he did these things. There's a whole lot of evidence to suggest that he did it. He knew he was doing it. He didn't quite know he doesn't know what racketeering is, but he knows how to make deals and play games. So he played a game of, hey, let's do what this lawyer says. Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? And those things are crimes. And the state of Georgia has suggested, hey, these are crimes that you've just committed. I don't think he knew he was committing crimes. I think you can very obviously commit crimes that you don't even know are crimes.
sure you can. Um, but what action took place?
He made false statements. I mean, he made false statements. He made false documents. He sent uh, he told his lawyers, he discussed with his lawyers plans to send in fake electors on January the 6th. Uh, he Forgery was on one of them. He told his lawyer to get a stack of fake electors. He might not have called them fake electors, but he might
Hold
have
on,
said
hold on,
Trump
hold on.
electors, you know?
Uh, uh, hold on.
Hmm.
We've been talking about RICO.
Hmm.
I think that the RICO charge is nonsense.
If he
We
told
are
his
now talking
lawyer
about
to, if he
other
told,
charges.
yes, if he told his lawyer to do a thing that is
Hold on.
illegal, it's RICO.
Uh, I don't think so. Um,
No.
hold on. I think that the RICO charge is overcharging. I think that you might get him on some of these other charges. So, to be clear,
Hmm.
Trump possibly, or probably even, committed crimes
Hmm.
as in the wake of the 2020 elections.
Hmm.
I do think that the RICO charge is an overcharge. You are not going to convict him on RICO. Certain other charges, it's possible, I think.
Of, I think they only have to pick up like two or three of these charges to maximum to get RICO. I really do. Um, I'm I'm not a lawyer. I feel like a lawyer in my heart. I feel like I am one. I'm not. The state has told me many times that I am not a lawyer, but I feel like one. But I am not. I identify as one sometimes too. I think that if I heard somebody say that you only had to prove two of these accusations to make it a RICO case. If you can prove that one of the lawyers distributed false electoral college documents, which we have the documents, lawyers working for Trump did in fact create and distribute false electoral college documents. They made those documents. This isn't a free speech thing. This is a, hey, we filled out paperwork and signed it kind of shit. If they can prove that and any one other one of these things, like Sidney Powell attacking uh, trying to break into uh, sorry, into voting machines, you have those two things, and those are both being done to benefit Donald Trump. RICO is established, I think.
I'm not sure that that's the case. And I think that you could probably get two separate convictions out of those things based on those charges. I don't think you could bring those things into RICO necessarily.
But isn't that the corrupt organization? If Donald Trump has lawyer Sidney Powell hacking into machines to his benefit, and he has Rudy Giuliani filling out paperwork to send to the Electoral College to benefit him, this is a corrupt organization, which is the C and O in RICO. And that's
I'm
why
not
I think
sure.
it's going
There's
to
just
work.
there's definitely something that doesn't sit right with me
Hmm.
in calling this RICO.
Hmm.
Um, there were, based on the charges, there are some folks I think that are probably gonna obviously go down.
Hmm.
Um, I just don't think that there's enough here to bring Trump down.
Okay.
Um, which,
I
don't
think,
get me wrong,
okay.
I'd be very happy
Hmm.
if Trump just disappeared from the race. Although my guy
Oh, God.
DeSantis has
That's only going to make it worse, but go on.
he has torpedoed his own campaign. It seems in the last
He has
month and
been
a half.
weird lately. Um, I think Rico is the only way that you can go after Trump. I think he is born a mob boss. I think he has been a mob boss for such a long time. That's how he's always operated, whether he knew it or not. You ever, he's a, what's the word for when you're like naturally talented at baseball, like a phenom or something like that? Like there are phenoms in baseball and football and like Bobby Fischer for chess, right? I think Trump is the Bobby Fischer of organized crime. I really think he is. He's born into it. He didn't even know he was doing it. He was just doing it right off the bat without even trying. And because he's a mob boss, the only way you can catch him is RICO. The reason the Russia thing didn't work is because they weren't. It wasn't the RICO Act. It wasn't a. Uh, you couldn't condemn him. You couldn't prosecute him for telling them to do the things that were illegal. Even if he did do it, and I don't think he even did it. I think he just kind of uh, hinted at it, and then people just do the things that he wants. I think was it about the meddlesome priest? Won't someone? The king looks up and says, "Won't somebody please, God, rid me of this meddlesome priest?" And then the soldier who's standing in the room walks out of the room, kills the priest, walks back. Did the king tell the soldier to go kill that priest? No, soldier did it. And So yeah, I think that's the level he's always operated on. So I think Rico's the only thing that can catch him.
I mean, I guess it could be interesting. Um,
So in the near future, he has to be um, he has to turn himself in before Friday the 25th uh, to Georgia authorities, which they're coordinating that stuff with himself, his Secret Service detail, and all that fun stuff. They'll probably do it last minute on Friday. Uh, it is going to be fun to watch. Doc Phipps, I agree. So he's going to go there. They're probably not going to do the perp walk and the mug shots, but they might. The Georgia police have been very open about all of these things. Um, they're so open, in fact, the Trump supporters post the names and addresses of Georgia grand jurors online. Uh, Grand juries are a very uh, public thing in Georgia. So anybody who's ever been on one, uh, your information is on the document. On this document, I could find them, and we could show the grand jury's names right here if we wanted to. I'm probably not going to do that, but um, somebody's found their addresses and is probably cyberstalking them right now.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that that probably shouldn't happen.
I don't.
Probably
I think it's a
the
bad thing,
the
but
names and addresses of grand jurors should not be released until at least the case is over,
um,
because they are supposed to be anonymous.
well,
And
these are grand jury, not the jury. Not the 12 people in a box who make the guilty not guilty decision. The grand jury in Georgia. This is just Georgia law. This is the same for every single grand jury that goes through Georgia. If they have 100 of them this year, they're going to have 100 people with their names on it. Or 100 juries with their names. Normally, that's not a problem, but this time it might be.
ooh, I guess I don't know the difference between a grand jury and a jury then. Um,
So, again, in my heart, I am a lawyer. So, the grand jury is 23 people who look at the evidence that the state has. So, the state of Georgia shows them evidence, and then those 23 people vote yes or no on whether or not this should go to trial. And most of the time, they say yes, because the state of Georgia has career prosecutors, and the career prosecutors aren't going to put nonsense in front of the grand jury. Um, so 12 of those 23 have to vote yes, it goes to trial for it to become a trial. And once it goes to trial, it will have a normal 12-person jury like we're used to, you know?
oh, okay.
And
So I feel
those
like
people, yeah,
that should probably be anonymous.
those people are anonymous during the process, and they are anonymous from the cameras that are going to be in this Georgia court. Georgia broadcasts all of these things. They always have.
Oh,
And
right, and the jurors are still anonymous unless they choose to reveal themselves
afterward, I think,
thereafter.
yeah, afterward, I think they are allowed to let their names be known. But I mean, all it takes is I mean, we live in a uh, very online world. I have a feeling that anybody who's sitting in there and looking directly at them, even though if they're not on camera, I mean, a human being could still sit there and look at them and try and figure out who they are. Um, uh,
You'd have to get in there. You'd have to um, see who they are, and
yeah, it's very
I
much
think
more
there are a
difficult.
number
I
of
agree.
protections. It's going to be
I
tough.
hope so. Uh,
Uh, uh, I don't think it's necessarily a risk of where you're a juror there. Um, it excuse me, I'm very gassy right now. Um,
Indictments make him gassy, folks. Um, I think
it probably will. Go ahead.
the danger isn't in being there. Doc Phipps has put them on a screen, but not in person. But we would still figure out who they were. I think the issue is
We would
later.
never end up. We would never end up without putting them on screen. Um, this is 100% going to end up being a public trial
Yeah, and
if it ever actually makes it
yeah, I
to
mean
to trial.
it's going to trial, unless I mean right now that grand jury said yes, this goes to trial. So the trial has been requested for the 24th of like March or something like that. The um, the Attorney General of Georgia has said I would like this on in March. Uh, he is got to turn himself in as well. All of these people on the list have to turn themselves in before Friday, next Friday. You know, all of these people have to go down there and surrender to law enforcement before Friday, and then post bail or hang out in jail, I suppose. Um, then trial motions, all the motions and shit like that happen for the next 6 months. Jury selection
Can you
probably
scroll down real
takes
quick?
6 months.
What's
Sure.
32 through 37?
32 to 37, conspiracy to commit election fraud. Election fraud, computer theft, commit computer trespass. That's the Kraken lady. Computer invasion of privacy and conspiracy to defraud the state.
All right, so Sidney Powell's probably going to jail.
She's going to jail. But she's a true believer. I don't think she's going to flip. No, sir. She is not going to flip. She is ride or die, hard for Trump. She got a lady boner for old Donnie. Um, yeah,
I think
she.
there are enough of these where the people that are just charged with like false statements in writing can be like, I didn't know it was false.
Right. And,
Done.
well, you didn't. Great. You didn't know it was false. Who gave you the sheet to fill out? Who told you where to sign? Who
Sidney
told you
Powell.
to? Yep, Sidney Powell. If maybe, or it was B. Giuliani. And why would Giuliani give that to you? To you've done the false statement according to the state. Where did you get that paper? Who told you to do it? And it's going to always go up. All the prosecutor will ask every single one of those questions, and the answer will point upward toward the
Well,
person
right,
at the top of
and the
the
problem is
pyramid.
that the problem with making that connection is, man, you keep making me defend Trump. What the fuck?
I
Um,
know. I'm
the
sorry.
problem is that once you get to that second to the highest level, once you get to Giuliani or
Hmm.
Powell,
Hmm.
um, then did Trump tell them to tell this other person to sign a false statement? No. So then the buck stops with them.
If
Um,
he's played
and
it
not only that,
100% mob boss, there's a possibility, yes, that Rudy Giuliani would get hammered for this. But if he says I'm doing it for Trump's benefit, and the jury thinks that he's doing it for Trump's benefit, I think you get RICO.
well, hold on. First of all, I'm just playing devil's
Hmm.
advocate,
I know. Yeah,
and I do have to respond to the chat real quick.
go for it.
Of not knowing it's false doesn't mean it's not illegal. That's correct. However, there are certain um, distinctions made in the law where uh, when it comes to making false statements, there are there's text in the law that says like knowingly and willingly made false statements. So if you don't know that you made a false statement, they're not going to convict you on it. That's sort of like the primary distinction that I make there is um, just not knowing that something is incorrect and then swearing and to it doesn't necessarily mean that you've deliberately lied. And so to prove that somebody provided a false statement requires that they know that their false statement was incorrect and they knew that it was incorrect.
I could definitely see your point there. If the person who's forging that document doesn't recognize that it is a forged document, they've been told by Rudy Giuliani that this is totally legal, this is totally cool, this is fine, just sign it, and they sign it, then the prosecution will say, okay, well, you did this illegal thing, you've even if you've pled guilty to it, they could be like, okay, tell us who told you to sign that. Tell and they're going to point it up. It's I think every single one of those people is just going to point upward.
Well, yes,
And
that is correct.
yeah,
Is if if you believed a statement to be true
mm-hmm.
and you signed off on it,
Because
and it turned off that excuse me, it turned out that that statement was not true,
mm-hmm.
uh, you would not be held liable for that if you actually believed the statement to be true at the moment of signing. Um,
It might still be
and
against the law, but that would that
no,
a lawyer would suggest that you plead guilty, plead ignorance, and turn in the person who told you to do it. You could get off with time served if you're
no, you would have to
yeah
have there would have to be good reason for why you believed what you believed at the time,
right.
which you
A
would very
very
well be able to
prominent
argue,
lawyer named Rudy Giuliani
um,
told me this was legal.
or you believed something to be the case. Um, it's not so cut and dry, and it's also not the way that our chat is portraying my argument. When you believe something to be the case, um, it doesn't necessarily mean that the thing you believe to be the case is the truth, but it's not the same thing as uh, breaking the law objectively and not knowing the law. So to break the law is to deliberately tell a lie, whereas if you say something or swear to something that is not true, but you believe that it was true, then you didn't deliberately tell a lie.
Right.
Whereas deliberately breaking the law, like killing somebody or performing an action that is illegal, it's
Let's
a separate step.
yeah,
Um,
Doc Phipps. Let's not talk about killing people. Let's stick to the thing that's going on right now. We're not talking about killing people. We're not talking about manslaughter right now.
well, hold on.
At
No, no,
at
no. It's an important
we'll
distinction,
put it
and
back on
I do want
forgery.
to talk.
What if
Hold
we
on, hold on.
discuss
Wait,
forgery?
wait, 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 wait. No,
Hmm.
I want to talk about it.
Hmm.
Um, somebody kills another person. It's not a defense to say I didn't know that it was illegal to kill somebody. However, somebody says, uh, I didn't put, or what? The sky is green, and they've never seen the sky before. I don't even know how to articulate it. It's a step removed
Yeah, I agree.
from.
If your lawyer puts a sheet of paper down in front of you and says, sign this because it's legal and it's important and it's part of your case, then you sign it and it turns out the lawyer told you that the lawyer was wrong, then you would have a good case in front of the judge. Your Honor, I didn't know what it was. I didn't comprehend. My lawyer told me this was legal. This was totally acceptable, and this was excellent. And this is a fine piece of thing. My lawyer is Rudy Giuliani. I plead guilty to forgery. If you didn't know you were forging a thing, and Giuliani tricked you into it, you could say to the judge, I plead guilty, and I will help the prosecution. I will uh, turn state's witness. I will uh, provide everything I can to the prosecution because I didn't realize I was breaking the law. You get a shorter sentence. You get a smaller sentence. You get leniency from the court. That I have no doubt that that would happen.
Um, I think that the ultimate basis is that almost all of these laws come with a knowingly and willingly clause. Um, there's a reason you don't get charged for murder. Um, if you accidentally run somebody over. You get charged for manslaughter for that, but you don't get charged for murder.
Mhm.
Now, if you know and the person, or you willingly made the decision to run this person over, like you saw that guy, you went to his neighborhood intending to run that fucking guy over, you get murder one. If somebody is walking on the street and you don't see them and you hit them, you get manslaughter. We have knowingly and willingly differentiations
Mhm.
in our laws.
Right, and I agree. And those are the flipping points. If Misty Hampton, whoever that is, I think she was one of the fake electors, uh,
Well,
is.
right, and what I was going for
Mhm.
was a false statement in writing. You have to prove that the person knew it was false and
Mhm.
willingly attested to a false claim or a false statement. That's the knowingly and willingly part. You can make a false statement in court and not be held liable for it if you believed it was true at the time.
You
It's
wouldn't be
not
held. You
perjury
wouldn't
if
be
you
held.
thought you were
You
if you
wouldn't be
thought you were
held
telling the
in
truth.
perjury. I agree. You wouldn't be perjuring yourself. But if a judge says you are charged with forgery, how do you plead? You have to make. You have been told by the state that the thing you did is illegal. You can say, I
Charged with
believed it was legal.
forgery.
Yeah, okay. That's why I wanted to get off of the murder. Let's talk about forgery. Forgery is literally in this document, written right there. Forgery. You didn't know that the thing Rudy Giuliani put in front of you is a forgery. So you signed it because he's your lawyer and you trust him and you love him and he's great. When
I don't
the
think that's how
judge,
that works.
you will be. How's that
I
not?
don't think you would be charged with forgery in that case. Who was charged with forgery?
Let's find it. 16. Number 16. Let's find a number 16 on here. 16. Sean Micah Thresher Still is charged with number 16, forgery in the first degree.
So he signed somebody else's name on a document.
He signed a false document or a fraudulent document. He signed a document that was not legal. You know, if I forge somebody else's name onto a document, I have created a forgery. Now, if Sean Micah Thresher Still signed that document, this is probably, I'm guessing, to do with the fake electors. They turned in documents to the Senate. I mean, that were fraudulent and that had human names written on it. You know, so if he signed this document under the direction of Rudy Giuliani, then he should go to a judge when he's standing in front of the judge. They're going to tell him what the charges are. They're going to explain the charges to him. This is illegal. The thing you signed is illegal. It is a non-legal document. How do you plead? He would say guilty because my lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, told me to do that it was legal. If your lawyer gives you bad advice, not an opinion, but like actual like advice, you can sue them. They can be held responsible for that shit. So he's going to point up. He's going to say, they told me it was fine. They told me it was good. They told me this was all above board. And they lied to me, Your Honor.
This is Georgia, right?
Yeah, this is Georgia.
All right. Forgery in the first degree. A person commits the offense of forgery in the first degree when, with intent to defraud, he
Hmm.
knowingly makes, alters, or possesses any writing in a fictitious name
Hmm.
or in such manner that the writing as made or altered purports to have been made by another person
Hmm.
at another time with different provisions or by authority of one who did not give such authority and utters or delivers such writing.
Okay. He's being
This
charged by the state of
means
Georgia
he's
for
being
that.
charged by the state of Georgia
Hmm.
for faking a document
Hmm.
or faking a signature.
Hmm. He
And
has,
again,
yeah,
once again,
he can do the
in
ignorant
hold on,
defense.
in that in that definition,
Mhm.
with intent to defraud, knowingly,
Yes.
those things are both in there.
Yes, it is. He has to prove to a jury that he did not know it. How is he going to prove that? How is he going to prove that he didn't know it was fake? By pointing at Rudy Giuliani. By pointing
Hold
at the
on,
lawyers who told him it was not fake.
except for the one part
Hmm.
that you've got wrong
Hmm.
is he doesn't have to prove that he knowingly did that
He
or
needs
that
to put the
he knew
shadow
that
of
it
a
was fake.
doubt into the jury. How does he
The
put the
the
shadow of a doubt?
prosecution, hold on, the
Okay.
prosecution has to prove
Hmm.
that he did know that and
Okay.
that he did do it intentionally.
The prosecution is going to do that. That's their job. The prosecution is going to try to prove that he knew it was wrong and he was told that it was wrong and he had more than enough information to comprehend that it was wrong. If he truly, absolutely, poor baby lamb, Sean Micah Thresher Still, that he is a pure, uncorrupted lamb. He had no idea
Oh
that
no,
this
he's
stuff was
probably a
wrong.
piece of shit.
He's probably a piece of shit, but if he is going to say to the judge, guilty, but I'm willing to
No,
work with the state,
he's not
or
going to
he's
say
going to plea
guilty.
bargain out of it. He's going to plea bargain
No,
out of it. Why
no.
wouldn't he
You know
plea
what
out
he's
of
going to say
this?
is not guilty
Uh huh.
because, well, actually, it depends. Did he sign someone else's name to something? Because in that
No, but he made
case,
a fraudulent document, or the fraudulent part to defraud the government or something along those lines.
no. The thing he was charged with specifically was
Well, he's charged with a lot of things.
forgery
Well,
and
that's one
fraudulent
of the
practices,
things.
which
That's number
means,
16. He also had
hold on,
18 false
no, no,
statements and
no,
writings.
but okay, hold on, that's a different thing.
That's a
Let me
lot
talk
of
about the different
things.
thing.
They
Hold
all
on, I'm
mix
talking about the
together.
one we were talking about already, though.
Okay, great.
Let's talk about the one we're talking about already.
Okay.
This guy either signed someone else's name to a document
Hmm.
unlawfully or claimed that he had uh, authority to sign someone else's name to a document unlawfully. That's forgery.
Okay.
That is 100% separate from, I mean, that is almost unrelated to the question uh, of Trump.
He signed
Like,
it to benefit Trump.
how do you know that?
How do I know that? Why did he sign it? They're going to ask him why. Why did you sign this false document? Why did you sign somebody? Why did you commit this forgery? Why did you do this false statement? Why did you do this forgery? They're going to find out. They're going to ask him why you did the forgery. And then the forgery is a document that benefits Donald Trump. It's not like he wrote Mickey Mouse on his driver's license application. He's filling out paperwork to uh, uh, what's the word? Adjust and change the election that happened in Georgia.
Okay, but then comes the next question.
Who was on the ballot in Georgia? Donald Trump.
Well, no, no, no. Who the next question is, who directed you to do that?
Yes, he's going to point
And
up.
if the
That's what
answer
I'm
is
saying. He's going to point up.
nobody,
He just did it on his own because nobody told him to. Just thought it would be fun. If they have a single text from Giuliani telling him that, that defense goes out the window, doesn't it?
all right. I want bets. Let's find out. $100. Anybody in chat, take me up on it.
Sean is mentioned 19 times. We're going to find Sean.
Trump will not be indicted, or not indicted, will not be convicted on RICO.
I think that's the only thing that will get him. I think he did. I think a lot of those other things he's going to get found not guilty of because he either didn't know it was happening, but he absolutely will get found on RICO. This is the big one. This is the exact one that will get him.
It's not the
Mr.
one. It's not going
Sean
to happen.
here.
And and by the way, I don't like that that's not going to happen. I am disappointed in DeSantis's campaign
Okay.
as it stands.
We,
I
we can
still
discuss
want
that here
DeSantis to win.
in a few minutes. Here in about 10 minutes or so, we'll discuss those. But Sean unlawfully, falsely holding themselves out as the duly elected and qualified presidential elector from the state of Georgia, public officers with the intent to mislead the President of the United States, the Archivist, and the United States of Georgia Secretary of State, Chief Judge, motorcycle. Um, this is the thing that they're saying he did. So I control F for Sean.
Hold
This
on.
is one of the things. This might not be the
With
forgery.
intent to mislead the president of the United States
Senate. That's the
Senate.
yeah. That's Mike Pence. The President of the United States Senate is Mike Pence. He filled out
Okay.
documents to mislead Mike Pence. This isn't like he just tweeted something and we're uh, throwing him under the we're trying to throw him in jail for tweeting. He filled out paperwork that
Uh
was
huh.
given to the United States Senate that was fraudulent.
Okay.
That's an action that he took. Now, the prosecution is going to ask him why he did it. If he, assuming he pleads not guilty, I think he's going to do a plea deal and absolutely flip on whoever told him to do it. Wouldn't that be the smart thing for him to do? If he's the ignorant lamb who doesn't know what's going on, he's going to say plea deal. His lawyer will tell him. He'll get a lawyer and they'll say do a plea deal, flip on the guy above you.
Maybe, but I don't think so.
No, he's going to say not guilty, and they've got him giving this document. I mean, how does he? There's no defense for it. There's only
Sure, there
leniency.
is. There's
I believed it.
not guilty, and I believed it.
That's still
And
illegal.
uh, it,
He still goes to
no,
jail for that. Yes, he does. He absolutely does. He absolutely goes to jail for that. I think everybody should go to jail for that.
well, the problem is that there's the knowingly and willingly part in the clause itself, and
Yeah, well, I believe that I have 1 million subs on YouTube, and I demand, and I am going to sue YouTube for not giving me the money that they owe me. I have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and I believe it down in my heart. I have millions of fans on YouTube, and they're not paying me accordingly. It doesn't work. He
but it does though.
beliefs, sincerely held delusions, can't be your defense in a court of law. It can be your defense on on the stump. It can be your defense if you're a politician. It can be your defense on social media. But I don't think it flies in a court.
I think that it does fly. Uh, that's probably going to be his defense.
I believed it.
Is I didn't know that it was not true, the things that I sent in. And that's going to be it. I mean,
They just have to. I mean, the so he says I believed it was true, and I filled out that form, but he pled not guilty.
yep,
Okay, so
not
he
guilty,
pleads not guilty
not guilty because I didn't know.
because I didn't know.
And then
Uh huh.
because the statute itself says knowingly and willingly,
Uh huh.
it's going to be the prosecution has to prove.
Mm-hmm. Prosecution will find a text. The prosecution will find something. They have everything he's ever texted and sent on his phone. They know exactly where he was all day, every day for the past few years because that's what they
And if
do.
they do find that,
Uh huh.
then yes, he gets convicted.
Okay. I
They
think that
have to
that's what's
find
going to
that.
happen. I think they've already got it. I bet they've already got it. I don't think that the uh, prosecution didn't find that before they put him in here. I'm looking right here at unindicted co-conspirators, individual 2, individual 8, individual 9, individual 10, that are not, and those identities are known to the grand jury. So these people, individual 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, aren't being indicted. they're not being put in front of a judge to make a choice of uh, guilty, not guilty, or a plea deal. I think that's because those people don't have evidence. Individual two has no texts that will uh, that will that the prosecution can use to leverage the ignorance plea. I think individual 2 and 8 and 9 and 10 could, under your do what you're suggesting and plead ignorance and be fine, and they would actually not the prosecution would have any evidence. But I think they've got it for this guy. That's why they indicted him.
Uh, I guess we'll see.
Okay, yeah, I
Um,
yeah, I would assume that's why there are so many unindicted co-conspirators, is because there's no evidence to suggest that they knew they were breaking the law. I mean, doesn't that make sense,
I think
right? If you've got
I think
100 people in front of you, you've got evidence that 9 of them broke the law. You've got that evidence. You're looking right at it. You're like, man, this is solid evidence. You would indict 9 people and call the rest individuals 2 through 20.
and I don't know if you'd get all 9 of those
You might not.
convicted though.
You might not.
I don't think you would. Um,
I mean, if you've
you
got the
might get
evidence, you
half
would.
though,
I mean, if you've got the evidence
and
on 9, you abandon the rest. You you go where the evidence leads. You chase down the leads that the evidence gives you. This isn't they're not searching for evidence anymore. They've already got it. Mr. Sean Micah Thresher Shill, still, they've got evidence to
right.
bring you to
And
trial.
again, I want to make sure that this is clear.
Hmm.
Like if Mr. Sean Micah Thresher Still
Hmm.
went ahead and signed other people's names to documents or signed documents that he knew were fraudulent,
Hmm.
that's a crime.
Okay.
Now, that is different from KBP's comment. I didn't know I couldn't do that from
Hmm.
Dave Chappelle.
Hmm.
Not the same thing.
I agree. And what's possible is that yeah, you're right. He might plead ignorance, but then they'll show evidence. He doesn't have to prove it, Doc Phipps. Thomas is right on this. He creates, as a defendant, creates a shadow of a doubt on the jury, and the prosecution has to prove it. He doesn't have to prove anything. The prosecution has to prove that he knew he was breaking the law. They have to find a text. They have to find an email. They have to find some sort of a uh, message uh,
Well, it's
that
not even that he knew he was breaking the law. It's that he knew he was telling a lie.
okay, or
Is the
he
problem
knew he
that
was
he was
telling a lie.
committing
Okay,
fraud?
yeah,
If he didn't know that he was committing fraud, then it's not the same thing as I didn't know that I couldn't, slap that person or assault that person. You know, it's not the same thing.
hmm,
Is It's two separate things.
right. I could agree. Ignorantly breaking the law is slightly different than willingly and intentionally. And if the prosecution proves that he willingly, intentionally did it, then they're going to uh, explain that to the jury. The jury's going to vote to convict, say that he's guilty, and then he gets sentenced. And I think even if we get to that point, I think he would flip. I think
I
he
think
would.
that hold on. I
Mhm.
think that my I'm really really bad at explaining the difference between the two things in my head right now.
Sure.
Um, if you believe that something is true and you say it, so for example, um, let's say you live in the 1200s and you believe that the Earth is flat, and you
Hmm.
say the Earth is flat, and we
Hmm.
teleported you through time to the current day, and you say the Earth is flat,
Hmm.
and you sign your name to that statement that the Earth is flat.
Hmm.
You have not committed a crime because you haven't knowingly and willingly lied about something.
I can agree to that. he, the prosecution would have to, in this situation, prove that your person who came back has seen a globe and has been told that it's not true, and find a Twitter post where they talked about going around the world. Be like, hey, did you use the word round in this tweet? The prosecutor would be like, did you tweet this out that you went around the world? And that is how the prosecution works. The prosecution will find the little things, the little details, the little uh, evidence to convince the jury. They already have that evidence. They
I think that,
they're not looking for it now. They've got it. That's what they've
well,
been
I
doing for
think
the
the
past two
question
years.
itself then is, did you know in the first place,
Right,
right?
and that's what they will have to
And
prove.
then the difference between that and the commission of a crime that is much more cut and dry, like, did you steal something, for example? It's a crime to steal something because it's not yours and you know it's not yours, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
And so they have to, yeah. And we're going in circles now. So yeah, the prosecution will try and prove it. They will try to get him. They will put evidence in front of the jury that says, "Here's you knew what you were doing. You knew what it was that it was wrong. You signed it anyway. And here's our case." He's going to have to try and put a shadow of doubt on that jury, and if he gets found guilty, he's going to be sentenced. If he's been found completely ignorant of all these things, and there's no good evidence, and the jury doesn't like that evidence, maybe it's just a tweet, like the around the world I just mentioned. Did he say the world is round? No, he said he went around the world. Yeah, but that would have to be a globe, right? Uh, that kind of semantic argument could fall flat in front of a jury. And that jury would then decide, yeah, you know what? I don't think he did it. He didn't do these things. So that is a shadow of a doubt. They would vote not guilty because there is a shadow of a doubt. And then he would be found not guilty. And that's one less of the 17 or 18 of them uh, that could point towards Donald Trump.
possibly. I just think that the further you get down that rabbit hole, the weaker the connection gets. I think that I'll give my final statement on
Sure,
this.
sure. Yeah.
Um, I think that ultimately, it's probably overcharged. I
Okay.
think that the charges will probably stick for maybe a third of the defendants in this case,
Hmm.
none of which will be Donald Trump.
Hmm.
It will only serve to continue to galvanize his base in a way that I am very opposed to. Um, and I'm I'm more unhappy about this from the results that it's going to have rather than the literally anything else
Okay.
from it. I'm fine with him being charged. I'm not fine with the fact that he's probably going to be the Republican nominee at this point. And
Yes. And we'll talk about that in about two
yeah.
minutes. I got to hit the head, but I will be right back. Feel free to talk to chat.
All right, chat. Well, after he uses the bathroom, I'm going to use the bathroom because I had the same idea. But if you got shit to talk, now's the time. So, Doc Phipps, what did you agree with? Probably the whole idea of probably what 1/3 people being actually charged or actually convicted and it helping Trump. Yep, that's it. Yeah, the charges are overhyped. They won't stick. Um, I do find it to be disappointing. I was a big DeSantis stan uh, throughout the very early course of this election cycle. Which I guess if you've seen the earlier streams, then that's pretty obvious. Uh, I'm not a super big Trump fan. Um, why about what? About DeSantis? Why I'm a big fan of DeSantis? Um, yeah, mostly because I was in Florida when COVID hit, and I really appreciated his response to COVID. I thought that he did well with that. Florida continued to boom economically throughout my time in Florida, even with COVID. Uh, I found that, well, I mean, for culture war things, I think that he did well on that front. As a conservative myself, um, and in general, I just thought he was a pretty good candidate, especially after winning Florida by such a huge margin, which used to be a swing state, and I guess it still is, but he just absolutely blasted the election in Florida in his last uh, his last election. And I thought that with Florida being a swing state, he'd be practically a shoe in a general election when you already have Florida under your belt, and that's one of the most important swing states that you can have. So
Cool.
I was
Yeah.
a big fan of DeSantis, and it seems he's managed to put his own foot in his mouth about 7 times since I took my hiatus from streaming, and now things are not going so well.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, you've used the bathroom, and
Yeah.
now
Go
it's
ahead.
your time to
I'm
talk
gonna I'm
because
gonna
I have to as well.
I'm gonna talk to chat and hype up the stream and all those fun things. Um, if you're just tuning in, my name is Waldo. That voice you hear is Thomas. I am a filthy pinko commie, and he is a right-wing nutjob. What we'd like to do is talk to each other about things that are happening in the politics and the news. Um, uh, you feel like you're typing too much? Nonsense. I need all the typing in chat I can get that boosts my algo, Boost that algo. Um, I am a complete goofy novice who barely knows how to stream, but I think that I can do it. I think it's fun. I kind of like it. But this is just a hobby for me, so I appreciate anybody throws things into chat. If you have links for political type things, throw it at me. If you have um, ideas for things to talk about on the stream, put it in the chat. Let me know. I suppose I should look at the YouTube chat and see if there's literally anything there. Hang on one sec. I think I can do that here. Oh, there is one person in chat. I don't know how long he's been there. Oh God. He said sup boy, but he didn't. He's not in Kick Chat where all the real chatters are. So if you're watching on the YouTube chat, I hardly ever look at it. Come on over to the Kick Chat so you can get points and play super fun slot machine games. Come on over to Kick. The water is meh. I agree. Um, Also, it's a lot faster. That's the other reason that we went to the Kick Chat because it moves a lot quicker. It's probably more dangerous, but I live dangerously. It's okay. Who's Joe Byron? I don't know who Joe Byron is, so it's going to be difficult. Um, I'm probably cooler than him, but would arm wrestle. Would I win an arm wrestling? match against Joe Byron. Um, yeah, we are. What are we going to do? We're going to um, talk about the DeSantis stuff
I'm
here in just a
back.
moment. Okay, super cool. Welcome back. Um,
I do believe I owe you a conversation about fascism of some
oh yeah,
sort.
yeah, yeah. We can save that for a Saturday stream. Well, if you're not busy, um, we could do that now. I guess we could ask chat as well. Would you guys rather hear about fascism or DeSantis? I don't know what you guys would prefer. I was about to. What was I about to do? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna get the thing here. Let me find my bot. That's what I was gonna talk about.
What does Doc Flips want to hear about?
Yeah, bot tricks. Um, hey KBP, send Ponathan a message and tell him to get into Kick Chat with all the cool kids. He sent me a message, but in YouTube chat, and he's all alone there. Poor guy. KBP, go save him from lonely YouTube chat. Yes, he is. And he wants to be here with all the cool people, but he's not here with all the cool people. He's in YouTube chat all alone, feeling like no one wants to talk to him. You guys help him get in here.
What's up, Ponathan?
If he's even still watching. I don't know how long ago he sent the message that said, "What's up, boy? I'm all alone. There's no one here besides me." uh, okay, so I have these little alerts and widgets and things like that to make the stream cooler. So if we get I gotta test them out too. If we get a follower, it should do this. You guys let me know how this goes.
Turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Did you hear that, Mr. Thomas?
No,
Okay, it's because you're not watching the stream. But
I
Doc
am,
Phipps heard
but
it. It's low, but it's funny. Okay, I can turn the volume up because I do have to like find these
what does
things
it
out.
say?
Okay, he heard it. Okay, we're gonna put it at 100 volume, and we're gonna save the settings. Then we're gonna press the test button again for followers. Ready?
Turn the friggin' frogs gay.
What's it say?
Oh, they turned the freaking frogs gay. It's Alex Jones doing the frogs gay.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Where's the Bernie one? Is that a subscription?
That's for subscriptions when people actually give me money. Uh,
I'm
we're
once
still.
again asking for your financial support.
Let me press that button. I think
I wish I could hear it.
that was not even close to correct. What the hell was that? Oh, you know what? I think I pressed the wrong button. Okay, let me hit the sub button again because I think this one's funny with
Oh, it's the ninja.
the
Yeah,
ninja.
yeah, yeah.
I like the ninja, but let me check this
Did
tip
it tip donate?
donate. Yeah, I think so.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
It doesn't have the video though. Okay, this is a problem that I need to fix. Okay, it's hard to be a live streamer. I don't know which button to press properly to make it do the tip donate thing.
I am once again asking for
I
your
am once again
financial
asking for your
support.
financial support.
I'm gonna get the Bernie video up there when he
I
says that.
want it.
I want it too, but so far I haven't had any tips or donations. So that is a thing that we'll put off till later. So the follower one was most important to get up there. So if you are watching, please press the follow button, and then you will get to hear Alex Jones's wonderful voice telling you about the turn the frickin' frogs gay. It's very fun. Uh, and then if you're in chat, you type exclamation points. My donation is my hard-earned annoying time. Yes, I know, and I love that. Um, Points. to see how many points you got. I specifically have infinite points. Suck on that, losers. How you like them? How you like them apples? Doc Phipps, you only have 20 points. Why don't you have more? You've been chatting all night. Maybe it has to update at the end of the night or something like that. I don't know.
Is there a cap?
No, because Cal's got like KBP's got like a 800 or something like that. Oh, you gambled and I missed it. I apologize. Yes, you gambled and you lost them all. I see. Shinsinto has 410 points, and KBP was up to like 800 or something like that. So, um, it's silly. It's fun. We'll get more if I get better at being a streamer. Uh, uh, Doc Phipps gambled 20 and lost. Sorry, boss. And then we all make fun of him. What a loser. Point at this guy and laugh. He's a loser.
Look at this guy losing fake internet points.
Uh, okay. Rigged. I wouldn't know how to rig it. How did you know I'm a loser? Hush. So, this is the fun you could be having if you're in chat. Um, so, as I get better at streaming, I might make more things and put more stuff in there whenever that happens, whenever it comes up. All right, nice little break. Dude, when I went in there to the bathroom, you started laughing immediately when I started peeing, and I thought you could still hear it. And then I freaked out a little bit, and I had to. You did, yeah, you did that laugh. You were talking to chat, but you did the laugh just the exact right moment, and I was like, did I forget to dig the dig? And then I reached for the mute switch, which is on my headset, and I was like, oh God, did I forget? So, um, what were we gonna do? We were gonna talk. Yeah, I know you do, but you, uh, that's a different stream. uh,
I like it.
what were we gonna do? We were gonna look. I've got. Let's see. Let's close the Trump stuff. Let's close that Trump thing. But we are
Whoa, that
gonna
is
look
a
at. We are gonna
big
look at
set
that
of
one. We're
epes and
gonna.
wojaks over there.
Then we're gonna look at that one because that one always makes me happy. That is the very good meme. I think that's a good meme anyway. Because that was Blorja. It was when uh, Georgia went for Biden instead of Trump. All the other people are mad at him.
Yeah, when they went and rigged the no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. When they rigged that election in Georgia, all the other ones are so angry. So that's one of my. I like that meme. I think that's funny. All right, so that one's out. Oh, good news, everybody. Uh, from Donald Junebug Trump himself. A large, complex, detailed, but irrefutable report on the presidential election fraud which took place in Georgia is almost complete and will be presented by me at a major news conference at 11 a.m. on Monday of the next week in Bedminster, New Jersey. Based on the results of this conclusive report, all charges should be dropped against me and others. There will be a complete exoneration. They never went through those that rigged the election. They only went after those that fought to find the riggers. Good news. He's going to prove all the fraudulent election stuff on Monday. I don't believe him. I don't think that is what's going to happen at all. I think he's going to put up that same horseshit that he threw at the judges that then they got shot down by the judges back then, and he's just going to say it's proof evidence, and we get a new slur, I suppose. Riggers. Um, all of his there. If you go to the darker part of the internet, they're using that as a slur right now. Um, so much fun. I love the internet. All right, so we're going to close that one as well. I'm going to watch that on Monday, you guys. Why didn't he release that 2 years ago, Shinsinto? Fantastic question. I think he already did. Uh, so I'll watch that on Monday, and then I'll talk about it Monday night. Monday night. So we're going to look at some polls for 538. That's a bright screen. Yeah, you can see it on my
It's
face.
a dark picture though.
And there's a reason I wanted to bring this up because I
Bright
want,
screen,
yeah,
dark picture.
bright screen, dark picture. It's true.
Yeah.
At the moment, polls from yesterday put Mr. Trump at 55 and DeSantis at 16. That's the only person that's close to him. and that's at 16 to 15%. Um, Trump at 60, Ramaswamy at 13, DeSantis at 29, and this one, DeSantis 16, DeSantis 18. But Trump's always at that 50, 50, 57, 57, 49 against Christie. So
Well, yeah, he was doing better before, or he was doing worse before he got indicted for crimes, and now he's
I,
doing better.
yeah, I know. That's because I think his fans are deplorable, personally. Uh,
Watch out for that basket of
no,
deplorables.
watch out for that basket of deplorables. I think it's a good turn. Damn it, Donald Trump, you made me agree with Hillary Clinton. Truest thing she ever said. There's a basket of deplorables that will support him no matter what. And I think that's the
Pepe,
truest thing she's ever said.
you ever see that video?
Which one?
The one where she calls Trump supporters a basket of deplorables, and then somebody in the crowd shouts Pepe. That's what I was just referencing.
Oh, okay.
Pepe
There it
in
is.
a live streamed town hall.
Okay. Um, so the so it looks like he is going to be the Republican nominee. He's going to skip the debates, if I remember correctly. He's going to not go to them, and he's not going to sign the pledges. I think he's already not signed one of them to support the ultimate nominee if it isn't you, was something that he signed, and to show up to all the uh, Republican-held debates. He didn't sign that one either. And I think he's going to run
He refused to do that in 2016 too.
Yeah, he did.
It's standard procedure for
Yeah,
him.
standard procedure for him. I think when the actual Republican debate it does happen, I think there's going to be 9 motherfuckers on that stage, and Donald Trump's not going to be one of them, and he's going to run his own press conference or a rally. But I mean, a press conference would probably be better. But if he does the rally, I I think he's only going to get stronger from that. The base deplorables will love it. They will uh, love him and they will cheer for him and they won't watch DeSantis argue with Ramaswamy. They just won't watch it.
I think that might actually backfire on him,
You think so?
and I
Okay.
hope it does. Yeah.
Okay.
A big draw for Trump, back in 2016 during the primaries was that he went to the primaries and he talked mad shit to people, and the base just ate that up. Like, um, Rand Paul, I think, was a good candidate that year,
Mm-hmm.
and he made a comment about Trump, and then Trump was like, I don't make any comments about people's looks, but a lot of material to work with there. It was like, damn, dude, you got him. All
He
right.
talks about people's looks all the time. Uh,
Well, yeah, I know he does, but but the way that he just dominates the debate stage is one of his strengths, and I think avoiding the debate stage would be probably a misstep for him,
okay.
because he does just take over the stage. It's pretty ridiculous how
And
good he is on there. So avoiding it, I think, is I think it's a sign of fear from him actually, which may, I hope, um, push people away from him in the primary and towards somebody that actually does get up there. It might be shown, if they're smart about it, they might be able to portray it as a sign of weakness.
okay. Um, I think you're right. If they were ballsy, and they're not, they would challenge him. They would say, "Hey, he's being indicted, you guys. This is a serious thing. We cannot have him run." And that's a lot easier to do if he's not standing next to you, if he's not on the stage with you. Um, and hopefully they would. The current thinking among the campaign advisors and those close to the former president is that he is not planning to participate in next week's Republican primary debate. Has not done any prep work for the debate, which is being hosted in Milwaukee. He doesn't need to debate prep, says somebody. I agree. He just talks shit. Um, Trump, meanwhile, has been throwing out different ideas for his own counter programming during the debate. The sources say, including sitting down with former Fox News news host Tucker Carlson and calling into the different cable news shows. So he's just going to go talk to Tucker instead. I think you're right. I think that is a worse. Well, you're selling me on this. I thought that that would be a power move on his part, but actually it may not be a power move on his part.
No, it's a bitch move to not participate in the debate,
Hmm.
and I think that that's a misstep on his part. I think he still probably wins the primary
Hmm.
unless the fucking stars align and we don't have or and you know another candidate comes to the forefront.
Hmm.
Hopefully DeSantis, I think. Um, but yeah, as far as Doc Phipps' question, um, if he does lose out on being the nominee, um, there's realistically only a handful of um, scenarios where I see the right winning. I'm pretty pessimistic at the moment on politics in general because obviously I'm not on the left. So you guys, I suppose, should be pretty optimistic. Um, Trump is not going to win a general election. So if he is the nominee, my side loses. Um,
Uh,
if Trump is not the nominee
hmm.
and he refuses to support whoever is the nominee,
Hmm.
uh, the right side loses. Um, the only scenario where Trump is not the nominee, or actually, ultimately, the only scenario where the right wing wins this election is Trump uh, steps down, which will never happen, and endorses whoever is the nominee
Hmm.
for the Republican Party, um, which I did speculate several weeks ago that it's a possibility where he steps down and whoever is the nominee ends up just giving him a pardon for crimes that may or may not have been committed uh, by Trump over the last few years.
Hmm.
Uh, which I think that you have created a video on about lawful evil and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that you're right that the only way we get uh, President DeSantis, and I made that video 4 or 5 weeks ago, I think. But yeah, the only way we get to President DeSantis is Trump steps down, tells everybody to vote for him, and they do. I think that third one actually is pretty tricky. I think if Trump's not on the ballot, there's a lot of people who, deplorable people, who don't show up to vote. And
And that is possible.
and
Yeah.
by those people not showing up to vote, they actually underwhelm in their normal in the swing states, and Biden takes it. Do I think he'll put aside his ego? Absolutely not. I don't think he can.
No, Doc Phipps, I think that my side is fucked. We're fucked. There's
uh,
just no other way to put it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. He needs to either win himself or have a Republican win so that he can get that pardon. And I don't. I think it would be lawfully evil for uh, DeSantis to do that, or even to promise him that, or even hint at the idea that he would. I don't love that idea at all. But I forgot where I was going. Okay, yeah. So yeah, Donald Trump either needs to win or he needs a Republican to win. So if it becomes, and he's more likely to win than DeSantis, honestly. And you've been talking about him lately. or the past few minutes about him goofing up lately, and I think you're right.
No, DeSantis is he went from being near 50-50 against Trump to being not that. So
Yeah.
he's pretty toast. Um, I don't think there's any saving his campaign. So it's going to be Trump versus Biden.
I think you're right. I think it's going to
And
be Biden versus uh, Trump again, and I think Trump is going to lose just because of all these what you call indictments and stuff like that. I think that a couple of them are actually going to go through, and even if they don't, I mean, it's still pretty crappy that he was indicted on these things. That it still makes him look bad normally, but I have a feeling that his friends like his deplorables like that he is being accused of these things. That's proof that
well,
he's
the
great.
main the biggest jump in the polls for him started with the first indictment in New York, as you might recall.
Well, that's because it
Um,
became huge news. All of a sudden, it became big news. Again, well, Trump has his
no,
deplorables, but all of a sudden it was on the regular news. The normies were hearing about him again. All of a sudden, once that indictment dropped.
you don't understand Trump's appeal.
Okay,
Um,
that's why you're here.
I'm gonna link you a video. I wonder if you've ever seen it. And once we've watched it together,
hmm
maybe you'll understand why I am so not. I guess I'm not upset about it, but I'm not in favor of the indictments being placed now. And we've talked about it before. Like I don't like it because it results in a boost to his popularity among his base.
hmm
Um,
Yeah,
let's see if I can.
his base is deplorable, as I keep saying, and I will continue to say forever. And when he gets accused of crimes, they love it. They rally. They get all excited. Yeah, he's our
Well,
boy.
it has nothing
A
to do
deep state.
with the base being deplorable itself. It's it's the sort of portrayal that he had, and this was I got it right here.
Okay.
I'm about to link it to you. It's 5 minutes long,
Okay.
and it's a fan-made advertisement for the Trump campaign in 2016 that I think sort of embodies um, the mindset for the people that still support him like unconditionally.
hmm
And there it is in
I
the
got you.
stream. Yeah.
Carl C. Is it a video? Well, we're gonna add to it, right?
What's that?
It won't get me copyright DCA. No, 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 it won't. Okay.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna watch a really lame ad because I'm too
Oof.
poor to pay for better YouTube. We're gonna pause it there. Gonna say no thanks to that. We're gonna turn the audio back on. We're gonna go to OBS. I'm getting better at this. We're gonna go to the main screen and we see, look, I know that guy.
So this is the video where I say this is why
hmm
the indictments come as a strength for him.
Okay.
Why this improves his polling numbers rather than diminishing them.
hmm
And it's because of the certain tone that's presented here. Go ahead and play it, and you'll understand.
All right, gonna hit play. If the volume's up too high or too low, let me know.
Movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington,
I'll pause it just every once in a while just to make sure that we're not copyright struck. This is false populism. The things that he's talking about is fake populism.
and for the
I
global
might
special
agree with that,
interest.
yeah.
They partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential
But notice how
threat,
he
like they haven't seen
is posing himself as the anti-establishment person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, this is
That's why I call it false populism.
every time you have one of these state legislatures or state courts that indict him for something,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes confirmation bias for this mindset that has been propagated, right?
Okay.
This is where his strength comes from. It's I'm not saying it's a good thing, but this is what it is. Like, every time you file charges against this guy,
Mm-hmm.
the mindset that comes from this video is what feeds into his further popularity as the charges mount.
Okay, we'll keep watching.
before. This is not simply another four-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry.
Fear mongering.
The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be
Gotcha.
clear on one
Corporate
thing.
press.
The corporate media in our country is no longer
Naturally.
involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever's necessary. The Clintons are criminals. Remember that. This is well documented. And the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out.
Pretty much it.
Yeah, feelings.
The point is,
It's hitting me right in the face with all the feels. That's all feelings, all day. That was so much feelings.
well, right, except for the
And
fact
conspiracy. Okay, sorry.
that the more that the government or the more that there's a push to convict him on something or indict him on certain things in every state,
Mm-hmm.
it feeds into the same narrative that he's been playing into the whole time, which is the problem.
Yes, the more the government uses facts to come after him, the stronger his basis feelings will be.
Well, hold on a second. That's not necessarily true, because we've already had an example where we had the Russia probe, which, yes, there were like 17 people in the Russia probe that went to jail
Mm-hmm.
or got indicted or got convicted of certain things,
And facts were presented.
and none of those people were convicted for reasons related to Russian interference in the 2016 election.
And the facts
And
were
and
presented,
then
and it gave
I
his
yeah,
base very strong feelings. They had so many feelings about it. They didn't look at the facts. They didn't read those documents. They don't even know what it said. They have no idea what it is. I can go online right now and find one source that says that investigation proved collusion, and I can find another source that says it didn't. Because
any
the
source that you find that says that the investigation proved collusion is lying. Number one, and number two, you can find many sources that say that there were several convictions during the Trump Russia probe.
Mhm.
That if you took that and said, "Oh, look at all these convictions from the Trump Russia probe," therefore Trump is guilty of being a Russian asset, and Russia had interference in our 2016 election. That is not the case.
I don't think he was an asset. I don't think anybody ever. I don't think the DOJ ever suggested he was an asset. They were just suggesting that he was sharing information.
Hold on.
The DOJ didn't do that. Did MSNBC call him a Russian asset? Yes. Did I do it as jokes? Yes. Did I do it somewhat seriously? Yes. Thank you for following. I appreciate it. Every single person is important to me. The DOJ didn't call him a Russian asset. Do you think that they did?
DOJ didn't, except for the fact that it's most important, except for the way that it's spun in the media, which is
a different thing. Yes, the media is feelings.
Public
I agree.
opinion,
yes.
Right? Which is, ultimately, our elections are decided in the court of public opinion, and that's how it was spun for a long time.
Right. I
Not
remember
true.
watching the Mueller stuff like that and paying attention to it and seeing it on MSNBC, and they were all having these complex debates on what he did and how it could have possibly been it. And then the report comes out, and it seems that it's up to Mueller made it up to Congress
All right.
if they thought this
Now-
should be impeached.
Now,
upon.
the
These are the
video we just
facts.
watched,
Should we impeach him? Okay. Video
the
we just
video we
watched.
just watched has the tone of, it's literally called Trump versus the establishment,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Russia probe, I think, served uh, to brace that standpoint, because anyone that looked into it, the media spun it one way. If you looked into it, it was another way. It's when you actually looked into it, it supported the Trump side and not the Russian probe or the Russian agent side of the story. The problem is that now we potentially have a real case against Trump,
Serious
and
state crimes. Yeah.
yes,
Actual
serious
things.
crimes.
Yeah. And we
And
can't because we
now,
cried wolf.
well, right, this is the boy who cried wolf. Now you have the problem where every step you take ends up being a benefit to him because you cried wolf so many
That's
times.
conspiracy brained thinking.
It's not conspiracy brained. It's support base brained. It's I can see why his base is reluctant to leave him, and the reason is because he's positioned himself as a force against the establishment. The establishment cried wolf once already, or twice, or three times already, and now, when it's finally correct, guess who doesn't believe them?
It was that is media consumption from right-wing sources that's poisoning the well of the people who have to believe them. Yes, Russia was a shot and a miss. That was the only miss. And even then, I don't think it was that much of a miss. It was tangential and it was close, but it wasn't a complete miss. He controlled the what was that guy's name, Bill Barr or whatever, came out before anybody else, before anybody on the news could get it, and said, "Yep, no collusion." Says right here, no collusion. And then the next day, everybody read it and they're like, "Hey, here's some collusion." And they said that the Senate could, in fact, impeach him over this if they wanted to. They simply chose not to. And then he gets impeached again, and then he gets impeached, and then Jan 6 happens, and he gets impeached again for that. And now we're in actual crimes, and his fans want to support him because he makes them feel good. He makes them feel good. They are spite based, they are deplorable, and they want him to make them feel good.
I
If
don't think
that,
they're spite base.
oh, 100% spite based. Absolutely. Nobody's that video did not have a single uh, non emotional line in it. Every single one of those lines was emotional. Every single one of them. And it's tied to the emotions that they already have. He was hitting on all of the Republican emotions right there. The people coming across the border. They showed a photo, a video of people running across the border. What does that do to a conservative's brain? Gives them feelings. They have feelings about that. They have feelings about that little video. And Donald Trump is saying, "I'm going to stop this. This is a
That is
feeling."
so silly for you to say. I mean, it makes for an effective ad, yes. And that is what ads do. They give you feelings,
Hmm.
right?
Great. I
I
agree.
mean,
Democrat ads are
give me a
filled with
break.
feelings. But you know what the Democrats don't do is publish books and wear T-shirts that say facts don't care about your feelings. That is the right wing's uh, talking point. Facts don't care about your feelings. We have the
Is it a
facts on our
fact that
side.
excuse
That's
me,
what they say,
but
but I don't think they do.
okay, so what you're doing is you're conflating
Hmm.
um factual reality from the propaganda that's put out.
What do you mean? Like,
Well, so yeah,
if I
they
what if I
they
gave you
showed
what if I gave a conservative person a solid, well written, well documented, completely accurate uh, scientific study that proved immigration was not bad for our country? They would disregard it. They would ignore it.
Well,
They would ignore those facts. They would abandon those facts. They would say that it was written by Soros or written by a Dem, and they would cast it off because
that
facts
proved
don't
that
matter.
immigration was not bad for our country.
Right.
Well, number one, there are
Let's
papers like that, and
okay.
by the way, there are plenty of papers that say that yes, immigration is good for our country.
Hmm. I think it
And
is as well.
you know what?
Mhm.
Lots of conservatives, including Donald fucking Trump, by the way,
Mhm.
agree.
No, he does not, and no, they do not.
Yes, he does, and yes, we
Build
do.
the wall, baby. Build that wall. It's going to get 10 feet higher. That's the
Excuse
most.
me,
He
but
talks about that all
immigration
day
is
long.
good for the country. No, see, you've made the mistake of conflating immigration and illegal immigration. Not the same thing.
Oh, I will go out. I will absolutely put it on right now. Illegal immigration is good for our country. It's
Nope.
fantastic. It's not fantastic.
Terrible.
It's good. It's fine. It's not a problem.
Absolutely
Those
not
people
okay.
that were running across that border, I am totally fine with that. Hell, I want to make Mexico and all of its states part of the United States, and I want to cross that border the same way I would cross from Mexico to or from Oklahoma to Texas.
Disgusting
There is a
imperialist.
border.
Get out of here.
I'm a materialist? Yes, probably.
Imperialist.
Imperialist. No, I want them to come willingly. I want them to come to me to come to the American people with like a list of hey, how can we make this work? And I want to be a get rid of. I'm anti-border anyway. I've gone from the Oklahoma border to the Texas border. I've crossed that border. You've crossed state borders in your car before, I would assume. Um, I want Mexico to be exactly the same, and then make them all American citizens. And then and then if Canada wants in on that, we'll do that too, one step at a time. And then we'll get Greenland, make them the 75th state, and then we'll have 75, 78, 110. Well, the number of states will just keep going up. I know that I am an extremist in that point. I know that I am not normal when I say those things. I recognize that most Americans aren't going to agree with me on that.
None of those things are in line with what would make things best for current American citizens.
Well, I think it would.
No,
I think that would make their
not
lives
even close.
better. I think that would literally make American citizens' lives better. Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
We
No.
can discuss that at some point. The point that I'm trying to get to is that they have feelings about all of those things that he mentioned: the bureaucracy, the Clintons, the corruption, the immigration, the jobs being gone, the factories. He mentioned all of these things that hit in their brains because they've been programmed to recognize those things as those are triggers for them. You know, as silly as the word might sound in this point, when you say factory jobs in a Trump video, that triggers something in their brain. And that video was 120% feelings.
I think that those feelings are predicated on realities of our country, though. I think that when you see those factory workers, what you see is jobs that don't exist in our country,
Right.
or at least didn't in 2016. And yes, they did somewhat come back over the last several years. Um,
I don't think they're ever going to come back. Not the way that it used to.
But they have, though.
There's a reason. Well,
Our production has gone up in terms of
it's gone up
our
a bit,
basic manufacturing, like steel.
but it's
has
nothing like we
increased,
were
for
back in
example.
the 40s, back in the 1940s.
Well, of course not, and
Okay.
we're not even. It's going to take decades to return
That's what
to.
we're never going to return to that. Never.
I
And
get that, except
and
that
boomers want
hold
to
on a
return
second.
to it. Okay.
Yes, they do, and I do think it is important that we are at least capable of sustaining ourselves from a national security standpoint, from an economic standpoint. We should be able to sustain ourselves the same way that we should be able to sustain ourselves when it comes to chips. We should be able to. I gave Biden props at the beginning of the stream for the CHIPS Act. We should be capable of building our own chips so that we can sustain ourselves in the case that there is some kind of conflict with China,
Hmm.
for example.
I don't mind being a bit more self-sufficient. That would be fine. But you don't get that by screaming about the poor people running across the border. If
Uh,
Donald Trump was saying the things that you're saying, I'd listen to him and be more amenable to him. But he's not. He doesn't say the things you're saying. He says they're rapists. They're sending the criminals over here. Some of them I assume are good. They're crossing the border. He doesn't
well, that's
say
a
the
different
things
problem
you're saying.
entirely.
Right.
That's that. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with him on that
Why
front
is he
either.
saying it? Because he has some complex economic agenda, or because he's trying to gin up their feelings and their fears to get them to vote for him? I think it's the
People
second one.
that I think that when we have immigration, there we certainly should have standards for it, should we not?
Should we have standards for immigration? There should be some rules in place, sure. Some
Okay,
laws, things like that.
like like there are certain countries where if you try to immigrate to in Europe, for example,
Hmm.
you have to have a certain net worth.
That is a choice that that country has made.
Uh
Now,
huh.
I can be for that choice or I can be against it. And if I were a member of that country, I could then uh, talk to my representatives within
Or
that
you have to
government
have
and
like a
suggest they
very specific
raise it or
skill
lower
they're
it.
already looking for,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Those are choices that a country can make,
right?
and we can change what our choices are within our country. We can make those choices the way we want to.
I get it, but maybe we should have some standards.
Great. Let's have some standards.
Okay,
You
and
you
so
are
having
discussing again.
standards.
You're discussing standards. You and I discuss standards, which is good. Which is why I want to talk to you. Which is why you are a conservative. Yet I will talk to you. Donald Trump does not talk about standards. He talks about the unwashed masses that are going to hoard and the caravan that's coming across the border. And that is the problem. The way that
Well,
he
those
applies it, the way that he talks about it and fear mongers to his base, they don't want to talk to us about. They don't want to talk to me about standards. They don't want to listen to you about standards. They want to
well, they do want to
spit
listen to me about
fear.
standards
No, they don't. They
because
want to spit
I would
fear.
have the right answers.
No, they want to
And
spit fear. They want feelings, man. You're giving them facts and logic. They don't want none of that. Those deplorables want feelings.
standards is literally all that us deplorables are asking for.
I don't think you're one of the deplorables. You already talked about how much you don't like Trump and don't want him to function, and you talk about standards. The deplorables do not talk about standards. They talk about
I
feelings. They
don't want
talk
the
about
caravan to come here
fear.
though. You lumped me in. You said the people that don't want the caravans to come
Uh-huh.
through are the deplorables. I don't want the caravans. I
The
want
reason you don't want
people.
sorry, go ahead.
I want standards.
I
Give me. And by the way, that whole quote, "Give us your tired, your poor, your huddle masses." I don't fucking believe in that. Give us your best. I want your
That's
best.
on the Statue of Liberty.
I don't
Not
care.
sounding very American. I know. That's fine. I'm sometimes not sounding American. I think it is a good thing, and I think it is a virtue that we should strive for. Give us your tired,
No.
give us your poor, give us your huddled masses is a uh, virtue that we should strive for to make our country better and the world a better place.
Nope. I refuse. Give us your best.
I know. And that is
I'll
a
take your doctors.
difference
I'll
in our
take your
opinions.
engineers. I'll take your scientists. And we're gonna make the world better that way.
I mean, you'll make the world different. I don't know. I have a funny feeling all the rest of the world will be poor and perish. Um,
Really?
and
So
and
you
what
don't think that
worries
it's the
me.
case? So you
Mhm.
don't think it's the case that a rising tide floats all boats, or rises all ships?
The people who the huddled masses don't have a boat. They're going to drown. A rising tide does raise all ships, but those huddled masses are floating in the water. They're swimming. It doesn't matter to them how high or how low the tide is. They still can't
Oh,
touch the
okay.
bottom. They're going to
So
drown.
so people that are in poverty right now
They don't
in the
have a
United
boat.
States.
The people who are in poverty in the United States right now are
Are they
on
better or
rats in
worse
that
off?
analogy.
Are they better or worse off than the people who were living 300 years ago in the same location?
Okay, so we're going to say that there's a person who is poverty stricken in America right now.
Sure.
Do they have
Yep.
I mean, how impoverished are we? Are we talking the schizophrenic who lives in downtown New York City under a bus terminal, or are we talking just somebody who has barely enough money to get by?
Let's say somebody living in Section 8 housing
Section
and
8 housing, part-time job. They only give him 38 hours a week because if he gets to 40, he becomes a full-time employee, and they're not going to have that. So he's stuck at 38 hours a week at minimum wage in Section 8 housing. Might have a couple of kids. That person could arguably be better off than someone who lived in that same area 300, 200 years ago. The country's only 200 years old, so we're going to talk. So we're going to compare him to the poorest of the poor in 1800s New York City. He's
I mean, you've got
probably
to be
better off
joking
than
when you
them.
say arguably, right?
He's
Like,
you could suggest
probably
that.
has like, I don't know, a dishwasher, a fucking
Mm-hmm.
washer and dryer for clothes,
Because those are required for
electricity,
our current
light at nighttime,
society. Right. Yeah,
a cell phone.
our society has gotten better. Do you want it to be better in 300 years from now? I want it to be better 300 years from now. Not the same as it is today. I want it to be better. I want the person who asks your question in the year 2300 to have the same situation. I want them to be in the same situation. I want the person who asks that question in the year 2300 to look at all the, what are they going to have in 2300? Ocular implants and brain chips, and I want that conservative in the year 2300 to be like, oh, look at all these things that the poor people have. They have brain chips and ocular implants, and they have flying cars in 2300. Are you telling me that they're worse off today than they were in the year 2020 when all they had was dishwashers? Yeah, I want everything to get better. I want to progress.
Rising tide raises all ships, baby.
They don't have a ship. The person who is running across the Mexican border into America, sneaking in, they don't have a ship. The person you
You
described,
have
the
just
person in
contradicted
poverty.
yourself.
How did I contradict myself? The person in poverty in Section 8 housing has a ship. It's not a good ship. It's a pretty crappy ship. And if things rise, he gets to rise with it. But the person who's running across, you can be just in the water in this scenario, in this analogy that we are working with. There are people who are just in the ship. I mean, not just in the water and don't have a boat. And it doesn't matter to them because they're barely surviving. They're subsistence farmers or some kind of shit where they're just eating out of trash cans. Does the person who's eating out of a trash can today have a better life than the person who's eating out of a trash can in 1800s New York? I I don't know, maybe. But it would be such a
I'm not
small
sure,
increase.
but
It's not
I'd,
it's
I'd
such a
assume
small
that
increase that I don't think it
the number
matters.
of people doing that are less. And also,
Great. Then let's keep
I
up
would
with this
say that
whole
you're talking. Well, hold on.
Mhm.
When we talk about a rising tide raising all ships, and
Mhm.
we're talking about immigration and whatnot, as the world advances in technology,
Mhm.
there's not people that are like super left behind. Like, yeah, there are some parts of the world that are more developed than others, but those advances do help just about everyone in the world eventually. Like, we
Eventually.
have come up with ways to treat malaria, for
Mhm.
example.
Mhm. I think Africa is a good point to bring up. Uh, if you go there and build infrastructure, that would hopefully take the most impoverished people there and give them something to work with. And yes, a malaria drug would help them. That would be good for them. That's the the
That's the
rising
rising
tide.
tide.
Okay, I'm thinking my way
And
through it.
all
Okay,
those people in Africa, maybe they don't have a ship, but
maybe
the
they're just
rising tide's
floating in it.
still helping them anyway.
Okay, can we give them a boat? Can we give them a rowboat?
The fact is that they all are already on boats.
No, they're not in a boat. They're just in the water.
They're their own
They're
boats.
being no, they're being dragged around. They're outside of a boat, and you know what? The boat.
They figured out how to beat
We're
malaria.
yeah.
Their
Well,
boat rises.
I agree. Can we improve their boats? Should we improve their boats? I say yes, we can and we should. That's the welfare state. You're going to call that the
Can we?
welfare state or something along those lines. But
Well,
yes.
we certainly can. We can
Okay,
improve
great.
their boats quite a bit, actually.
Okay, great.
Um, the way that we do that is we continue to progress.
Hey,
And
now you're
we
progressive.
find
Well,
more-
welcome to the
well,
party.
hold we progress scientifically. We continue to develop new technologies. At some point, the rising tide lifts all the boats to the point where it's everything eventually becomes great, I guess.
I hope you're right, but I'm worried that there are people who are drowning. I'm not saying it's a bad analogy. I'm saying there might be some people in the water that don't care. There's somebody in sub-Saharan Africa that doesn't care about Elon's Twitter takeover. You know, and that's the person that's in the water. If you increase the internet speed or you make some sort of important progress, if we get a better superconductor, which I think was in the news lately, that doesn't help him. He's in the water. It doesn't make any difference to him. If we get 17% more solar panels or electricity out of a typical solar panel, and they become 17% more efficient, it doesn't help him. He doesn't have a boat. Helps me. I got a boat. I'm trying to buy a boat. I would love some solar panels on my house.
Okay.
But I'm rambling. What Doc Phipps brings up a good point. What are we even talking about? This is what happens when the two of us talk. Sometimes we get a little bit crazy and we go into such weird semantic arguments that we lose our track.
I don't think it's semantic at all.
Kind of fun sometimes.
I do think we've strayed off the topic, at which I now forget what it was.
Donald
just
Trump
like,
and
Doc
all
Phipps
his
has.
feelings. Donald Trump and all his feelings and his deplorables don't care about that rising ship. They don't care about the documents that you give to them. They do not care about the facts that the state of Georgia has put in front of them. They do not care about the facts that Jack Smith has put in front of them. They do not care about those facts. They will abandon
I
them. They will
disagree with you
ignore them.
entirely. I think that your conflation of the Donald Trump indictments
Mhm.
and the concerns of the people that vote for him it's unwarranted. I think that the people that vote for Trump are doing it because they find that the establishment has not served them, and they want it to. And he is posed himself as the anti-establishment candidate. And every time that we have an indictment from some state, whatever, that basically puts itself in opposition to him, it serves as a confirmation bias sort of moment.
Well, it's a
every time.
conflict, right? Why did they do the things on January 6th? Because their sincerely held belief was that he won and there was corruption and voter fraud. The fact is that there wasn't any. The fact is that there was no, that Joe Biden won, and the feeling that they had that Donald Trump was the winner was far more important to them. Their sincerely held delusions are more important to themselves than facts, logic, and reason.
There are a lot of conspiracy points on the 2020 election.
And they're based on belief. You mentioned belief a little while ago, about an hour ago. You were talking about the defendant's belief that they had not broken the law, the belief that they were doing the right thing.
That's totally different.
I know. Well,
That
that's
comes
a
in terms of,
belief, is it not? I
well,
believe
no,
Donald
that's,
Trump won the
hold on.
election,
That's
so I'm going to
important
storm
when it
the
comes
Capitol.
to, that's important when it comes to whether or not you actually convict somebody and put them in jail. Whether or not fraud existed in the 2020 election, uh, I don't think that the fraud that was claimed was necessarily perpetrated. I do think that there are things we should be tightening up about our election system, and I've described that in detail before
Hmm.
about our mail-in voting and whatnot.
All the
I do
facts that I've
think
seen, mail-in voting is entirely secure.
bull fucking shit.
You have a belief,
Um,
don't you?
yeah,
The
yeah, no,
belief
I don't.
is the problem. Belief is the
Well,
problem.
no, it's. I do look. I don't even contest the 2020 election.
I know
Joe
you
Biden
don't.
won,
The
but
people at Jan 6 did. The people that stormed the
but
Capitol believed it.
but the fact is, I think that our voting regulations should be tightened up somewhat. Like I don't think our elections are as secure as are being um, claimed. And there is something there, and that's the
That's an
problem
acceptable
is that
stance for you to
there.
take. I accept
Well,
you
no,
taking
it's
that
not
stance.
because there is enough of an issue there to where you can have people that claim that the the 2020 election was fraudulent. We have enough
Because they want
problem with our
to believe
election
it.
system.
They want to
No,
believe it.
no. The fact the fact is that we don't have this problem in literally any other country that has a legitimate election system.
I'm gonna say that sounds insane to me. That there aren't election fraud scandals in other countries. I think there's lots of them. I think politicians go to jail all the time. I think there's a thousand. If you watch world news, like this country is in turmoil because of the election fraud. This country is in turmoil.
I said a
The
legitimate election system. France,
France. I don't
Sweden,
know enough about
the
France.
United Kingdom,
UK has election issues all the
Switzerland.
time. UK has election problems all the time. They have a parliamentary system, different things. But yeah, that's because they don't have the false belief the way we do. Their societies are not based on belief the way ours is. I think that we are actually very special in the fact that we coddle people's beliefs above everything else. I think belief is the problem. The people who attacked our government on Jan 6 believed they were doing a good thing. The person you described earlier tonight believed that he was not breaking the law. He believed that he was doing a good thing. He believed that it was uh, the correct course of action for him to take. The facts say that Jan 6 people were attacking the Capitol and Donald Trump did not win. That's the facts. They ignore those facts and instead fill it with their own sincerely held delusions. I
I
think we
think
are a
that the only
highly
reason there's
delusional
room
society.
for that
Mhm.
is because we don't have the appropriate controls in the first place for our elections. I think that our elections.
No, I think you've been lied to about that by people who want you to believe it. They get their foot in the door with this slightly off kind of thing, and then they build and they build and they build and they build, and then you get Jan 6. These uh, the belief is the problem. The person can. Okay, go on. Sorry, I'm gonna look for a thing. I'm gonna look for a fact real quick. But you don't think belief is the issue. What do you think to that statement? That's one of my favorite statements. Belief is the problem.
I disagree, and well, actually, I don't. It's not that belief is the problem; it's the fact that the underlying conditions exist for us to have that lack of belief in the first place. The lack of belief in the integrity of our elections in the first place
Mhm.
is the entire catalyst for an event like January 6th to happen. It's
But what if
we're at a
2020
point
election
where
officials say it's the most secure in history? Security officials say. High-ranking
who
Republican
are the security
senators.
officials. I mean,
Because you
that's
want
the
to
problem.
believe it's not true. You want to believe that this is a false headline. You want to believe it. Hence, you will try to shoot holes in it. You're not the problem here. The people who are the worst of the deplorables, the people who stormed us on Jan 6, will find any molehill and call it a mountain if they believe it. If they want to believe that that is a mountain, they will call that molehill a mountain. I can't find. All I
Do
find is
you
the
think
headline. Sorry.
that other countries have the same problem that we have had with the 2020 election?
They have some problems. Yes. Every country has a problem.
Well,
And
what's
they
the
might have their
basis
own
for the
problems.
problem?
Depends on what their issue is. They might have belief problems. They might have actual like racist problems. A lot of the world is very racist. It depends on what the specific country is and specifically what they're doing right now. I mean, Italy has almost elected a fascist in the past couple of years.
I think that
Shincento brings up a good point. 62 courts in our country said that there was no evidence of fraud. That sounds like 62 facts to me. If 62 different courts say that there is no fraud in our election, you want to believe that there was fraud. You have to want it at that point, don't you?
um you have to want there to be fraud. I don't think so. Um was there fraud? I don't think so.
There actually
Um
was, and Donald Trump is being put on trial for that fraud. But it got caught. Somebody was defrauding the 2020 election, and it was Donald Trump, according to the state of Georgia and according to Jack Smith. There was fraud happening, and he was doing it. He might have been overseeing it, but it
I think
got
that
caught.
you are
It got
nope.
caught.
See,
That's how
that's
the
the
system
problem.
works. That system
No, no,
is
no. This is the
working
problem.
properly. The
That's the
system's
problem.
working properly.
This is exactly where we have an issue, is where you jump from, oh, Trump has been charged with certain things, and then you jump to election fraud. Well,
This is why they won't let me be
no.
a lawyer. It's because I do exactly that. I say things with no proof. This is why they took away my my license to practice law, is because I wrote it on a piece of paper, and but I sincerely believed that it was a license to practice law. That apparently doesn't work within the real world.
Well,
Is there problems with our election system? Yes, I'm more than willing to listen to people properly discuss that in the right setting. If you bring me evidence and facts that suggest that there is something wrong with mail-in voting, I will look at it. But that's not what Trump
there is.
fans are doing. That's not what they're doing. That's not what I'm seeing them do on the news. That's not what they're saying on Fox News. That's not what they're saying on OAN. That's not what they're saying
I've done it with
on the thing.
you
You've done
on
it with me. This is
private
why,
text chats.
right? That's why I want to talk to you, because I think you're the most reasonable of the conservatives. I don't know why, but a lot of them aren't as smart as you. Uh, now, why aren't they as
Mail-in
smart as you?
voting is bad. And the reason it's bad is because of a very simple technique called ballot harvesting. if you do mail-in voting, you can harvest ballots. You can tell people, hey, when you vote, when you go knock on doors, people that aren't otherwise going to vote, you can say, hey, here's $20.
Mm-hmm.
Just circle this number or this name and sign at the bottom. And then you send that in on the mail. It happens both parties do it,
Mm-hmm.
to be fair, but it is wrong. And
I agree that that's
then
wrong. And for
a
that to be proven wrong, you would need to then come up with evidence. If Donald Trump has thousands of evidences of this happening, he put it in front of a judge and the judge shot it down, there's either a reason for the judge to shoot it down, or it's a gigantic, huge conspiracy, which again, show some evidence.
well, I don't think that the opportunity should be there in the first place. I think that it's either in person or you have a valid reason for not being in the state. For example, maybe you're a member of the military
Mm-hmm.
and you are on orders out of the state that you are voting in.
Mm-hmm.
Then yes, you should receive a mail-in ballot. The problem is that the 2020 election was sullied with a number of rule changes because of COVID. They said you don't get to, you don't have to come into the actual voting place to place your vote uh, because of COVID, because we don't want you to get sick. So we're expanding the mail-in ballot rules.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is they never reverted those mail-in ballot rules to the way that they used to be before COVID started.
Is there any
And
evidence that said that that was a bad thing to do? That this caused a bunch of fake votes? If there is
well,
evidence that that caused fake votes, I would look at it and comprehend it and say, hey, let's do something about it.
it doesn't necessarily have to be fake votes, though, does it? I mean,
Of
if
course it
I go
does. If you're
door to door,
saying that a bad thing happened, but it didn't happen, then I don't want to make a change the laws. You know what I mean?
if I go door to door and I get 100 people to agree to sign their name on a paper for $100,
That's a
or even
crime.
for
Let's
$5,
prosecute that. Do you have evidence?
well, where are you going to get the evidence from? The people that signed the paper fraudulently, or the people that
Yes.
asked them to?
Great. Find the people, charge them, have an investigation. We need a department of uh, investigations. We could name it something something BI. I don't know. We'll work on the name later. But they could investigate something like that if you brought them the information.
That sounds unreasonable.
Reporting crimes and then having someone investigate it is unreasonable. There's no other way
No,
to function. There's no other way to function. Hey, I think this was a crime. I think I saw something that might have been a crime. Here's some evidence. Can you look into it? That's how the system has to function. There's no other way around it.
so
Yes, we
so
could
just to be
create
clear, you don't
things. Okay.
believe that ballot harvesting schemes exist in America?
I don't think that they exist to the extent to which Republicans talk about them. I don't believe them. I suspect that they
I
are
think
liars because they lie a lot. And then
I
when
think they
asked to
probably
prove
exist
it in a
on,
court,
by
they
the
get
way, on
shot
both
down.
sides.
They get
I
shot
think they
down in
probably
court.
exist on both sides far more than you're willing to admit.
I accept that Democrats could entirely be ballot harvesting. Please show some evidence. Donald Trump was given the chance when he put in 62 cases. At least I think it was 62. Let me get that number right, correct. And I'm just talking off the top of my head anyway. He put in lots of cases of voter fraud, and they were thrown out every single time. Now, either all of the judges across the country are lying to keep him out, or he's full of shit. And you know what? I've heard him talk many times, and he seems to me like he's full of shit. He talks shit all day long. The things he says have no basis in reality. And because, yes, he's talked so much shit, I don't believe him anymore. So if there is some basis here in fact, I'm going to need to see some evidence of it. And I will think about it and take a look at it. And we can meet in the middle, come to an agreement. Hey, this is a bad thing. We don't like it. We don't want this to happen. Let's make a law against it. Sounds fine to me. These are the links we're getting from chat. Iowa official's wife is charged with 52 counts of voter fraud in congressional race. So it happens. See, look, this happened. I think that this happened. And I have a funny feeling. Prosecutors allege that in an indictment unsealed Thursday that Fong Taylor filled out the voter registration forms or delivered absentee ballots for people in Sioux City Vietnamese community who had limited ability to read and understand English. She filled out dozens of voter registrations, absentee ballot request forms, and absentee ballots containing false information. So this is happening, and it's being found.
And she should go to jail.
Great, I agree.
Right. But
The system works. The system found this. The system is functioning properly. This is evidence, I'm going to say this is evidence that the system is working. Do you have evidence to suggest that the system isn't working? There are, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist or that nothing has gotten by. I'm not saying that there's never been a false thing that got
it's
filled out
not
in
what I'm saying at all.
2020. Okay.
I'm saying that the more that you expand the methods
Mhm.
to vote, the more you invite the potential for fraud.
I agree with that sentence. The more accessible anything is, the more likely it is to be stolen. The more, yeah. The more accessible my computer is, the more likely it is to be hacked.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and if you know what's really secure from my computer? Throwing it into the ocean. You know who's going to hack it from the bottom of the ocean? Nobody. But you know what? I lose the ability to use it at that point. I don't have access to my computer because it's at the bottom of the ocean. It's entirely secure, 100% secure, but nobody can get to it, even including me. So we have to make a system that lets me have access, the good access, the right access, and keep the bad people out.
Right.
Which is
And
why we should talk and discuss
so
things.
there are certainly there are certainly rules we should talk about following,
Mhm.
which the whole problem with the 2020 election is that a lot of the rules that we had previously all agreed to
Mhm.
went out the window.
I agree.
That's where all of this conspiracy stuff comes from. And a lot of the rules being relaxed and whatnot on where and how you can vote and whatnot. That is a serious issue which has to be talked about. Where I don't, like I said, I'm not contesting the results of the 2020 election,
Okay.
but I do think that the people that have problems with it, I see where there is that loosening that happened that results in people having issues with how the election was conducted. And that is where you get the extremes where they're like, oh, the whole thing's fraudulent. Trump
Mhm.
actually won. There are certainly problems with how the election was conducted, and that invites discord. You can't
They're
have
looking
that.
for that discord. They are searching for that discord. They want that discord.
You
The
can't have
deplorables are looking
that.
for it.
That
They
discord
are.
only exists because of the
There's
irregularities in the
always
first
going to
place.
be mistakes. There's always going to be a clerical error somewhere. The indictment that just came
No,
out on
this is
Monday.
not
Okay,
just a
I'm just going
clerical
to use
error.
this. I'm going to use a clerical error happened on Monday. This past Monday, a clerical error happened. You haven't been watching the news, but I have on Monday. That indictment that we looked at, that 90-page thing, was posted online by the clerk before it had the final signatures on it. That is just a clerical error. We know who did it. She said, "Hey, I meant to hit save, but I accidentally hit send," and then I recalled it, and then we went and she was on step 97 of a 100 step process. And then she was like, "Oops, that was bad." But the press got hold of it. And the press is like, you know how the press is. The thing leaked. Oops, we got it early. And they started reading over it and they started saying, this is what's about to happen in an hour. In an hour later, it actually got that final signature and the thing came out. What do you think that the QAnon types are talking about? What do you think they're saying about that? It was a clerical error, is what actually happened. But what are they saying? Oh, it's railroaded. Oh, yeah, you know what? This stuff came out an hour before the grand jury even voted. So it's a con job. They rigged this ahead of time. They rigged this all the way ahead of time. They had this document ready to go before it was voted on.
Totally ridiculous.
That's what they're
Um,
talking about. I listen to their lunacy and I bring it to you and I'm like, hey, what do you think about this lunacy? And and that's what I'm doing right now. So
I think you're misrepresenting.
no, I think it's exactly the
Um,
same situation. There is a problem with mail-in voting. You're describing a actual possible problem with our mail-in voting and ballot harvesting. But what are the lunatics saying? The lunatics are driving your car. Maybe that's what I'm trying to tell you. You are bringing up decent ideas that we can discuss and come to an agreement on, but you're not driving their car.
well,
Alex Jones is driving that
here's
car.
here's a decent idea. I'll
My,
give it to you now.
Maytag is driving their car. Okay.
I'll give it to you now. National Voter ID.
I
A
think
free ID.
I think that that's a fine idea. I love the idea of a national ID, and yeah, the My Pillow guy is driving your car. Sorry. Um, I think that that's a fine idea, as long as we make sure that everybody can have one.
It's free.
Okay, yeah, it's great.
You
It's
just
free.
you just have
But
to go to the DMV and pick it up.
you know what the Republicans are gonna fucking do? They're gonna put 17 free offices in a small town in Kansas, and then all of Chicago is gonna have one that they all have to share. You know, that's the kind of horse shit that will come up. So I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm saying you have to implement it properly.
Make it available at every DMV.
The DMV is already a shit show, but uh, the DMV is a complicated place. And if you don't drive, you don't have to have a driver's license. It's madness that our entire country is based on this fucking driver's license that you don't have to have. You don't have to drive a car. You have to go get a special kind of license. And if you don't drive a car, you don't go to the DMV, you don't get your license, you never vote. There are issues with even that reasonable statement that you're making.
So you can have, if you don't drive, you can have a specific ID for voting.
Okay, I'm on
And
board.
if you do drive, your driver's license can act as a double for a
Nah,
voter's
make it
ID.
all one. Make it all one. Why are we having 7 different licenses? You go into there, you get one license. You go, hey, I'd like to vote. Sure, fill out this form. Hey, I'd like to drive. Fill out this form. Hey, I'd like to hunt. Fill out this form. Hey, I'd like to fish in this state. Maybe you can just do it all in one place. And then it was all one license that's got a QR code on it or something like that that a cop can scan and look you up in the database. I would be fine with that. I think that's a fine idea. I think that is an idea that we could work towards. But you're a sensible person and you're not in charge of the RNC.
I should be, though.
I know. I would rather you were in charge of them instead of the lunatics that are running it now. Donald Trump is about to be the Republican nominee, and he is an absolute fucking lunatic. The things he says are not based in reality. They're based in the feelings of the people who follow him. If they certainly, if that basket of deplorables suddenly becomes angry at, I don't know, Darth Vader, then he will talk shit about Darth Vader. He doesn't matter. He doesn't care. If all of a
Oh, they're
sudden,
mad.
if something becomes woke, he will just talk shit about that. He doesn't care what it is. He doesn't care what it matters. He doesn't care what he said in the past. It doesn't matter that he used to vote Democrat. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Facts do not apply here. Only the feelings that we have right now. If we're mad at the Barbie movie, then Donald Trump will talk shit about the Barbie movie. Nobody cares about the facts of the Barbie movie or what's in it. They just need to be mad at something. Um, I don't want to open up an entire can of worms because it's late and I'm about to call this off. But to the point I'm trying to make, Ted Cruz is the Texas senator. He is an important person within the Republican Party. He demanded that a special prosecutor be selected to investigate Hunter Biden. He demanded it. He said it many times. He said it into TV cameras. He looked right in the camera and told them, special prosecutor, make this guy the special prosecutor. We need it now. We need it now. We need it now. He signed documents. He signed government memos saying that he wanted this guy to be a special prosecutor. And he signed his name to it. That was months ago. But last week, that guy that Ted Cruz wanted was chosen to be the special prosecutor. You know what he did on Sunday? He went on the news shows and said how much he hated it. And that guy shouldn't be a special prosecutor, and it's part of the cover-up. Because it doesn't matter. The facts don't matter. To his base, to his fans, who are Trump voters. They do not care about reality. They do not care about what facts are. They don't care what the facts were last week. Only right now. Feelings right now. That's what matters.
That is an interesting story that I will have to follow up on.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I didn't want to open up an entire can of worms because if you say Hunter Biden, all of a sudden the entire
Hunter
universe
Biden.
changed. Geez, now we have to stream for 4 more hours. But yeah, that is the impression that I get from the people who are watching, the people who are paying attention. When I look at the people, they don't seem to be like you. And Shinsento's Googling those dick pics again. Like, he won't stop Googling them. Like, there's an issue. You have an issue, Shinsento. You have looked at those things. They're saved on your hard drive. Why do you keep looking at them?
How dare you be so homophobic?
I guess you're right.
If he wants to look at Hunter Biden's dick, that is
He's
his
allowed.
prerogative.
You're right. He's allowed. You're allowed. Just save them to your hard drive. Stop Googling it all the time. You're making him trend. KBP1 again. All right, finally. So, yeah, that is the impression that I get, that it is not logical, reasonable people that are driving the Republicans right now. They're not logical, reasonable people that are driving the conservatives right now.
I will argue that it is the same for the Democrats and the leftists. Just in an equal and opposite way.
I mean, of course I'm going to disagree with you.
I think that economically speaking, we are on the verge of disaster.
Well, the economics is all feelings. It's all magic made up and not real. So, yeah, we could be.
No, it's not made up and all real and or whatever, made up and not real or whatever.
Magical nonsense, yeah. We can have an economics debate at some other point. It's far too late.
It's a lot like gravity. Gravity, you don't know that it really exists, except for the fact that you pick up a ball and you let go of it and it falls to the earth.
I mean, gravity can be measured.
Yeah. And well, economics in a lot of ways can be too.
Mm, the product can be measured. The amount you sold can be measured. Demand? I don't think you can measure demand.
Sure you can.
Nah, you can find some indicators, perhaps, but it's not as nearly as hard a science as economists say that it is. I think that
I would say it's probably more of a science than sociology, for example.
is it a harder science than sociology? I would agree with that. Uh, you got your math,
Psychology.
you got your psychology. Yes, I mean it deals with psychology. I mean, what is demand if not a person having thoughts and demanding a product that they need or they think they need with their brains? Um,
Gender studies.
Gender studies. mm, Is economics a harder science than gender studies? Yes. Is it a better science? Is it more important? Probably even yes. But that
I'm
doesn't.
actually impressed you
But
said yes to all those.
but
So
that doesn't mean half of it isn't made up. Half of math is not made up. Half of science is not made up. Half of electrical theory is not made up. That shit is solid. Half of gravity, the studies of gravity and the forces that move the stars and all that, not made up. Half of physics is not made up, but half of economics is. All of gender studies is made up. 100% of it.
holy shit, I'm actually surprised to hear you say that.
I mean, that doesn't mean it's not important. We made up gender. We invented it. It's made up.
Fair.
We can change
Fair.
it. We can change every single
Absolutely
gender
fair.
rule if we want. We can change every single gender rule if we feel like it. There's nothing inherent in the universal laws. Pink
I
scrunchies
just
have a
I just wasn't
specific
prepared
thing.
for it.
I know.
I'm not disagreeing with
Okay,
you. I
okay.
just
All
wasn't
right.
ready for that to
All right. I
happen.
was ready to rant. I was ready to fight. Okay. Um, but yeah, half of uh, economics is made up. But let's go to the other one. Sociology. I'd say about 3/4 of sociology is made up. The other quarter is people actually like living. You know.
So half of economics is made up,
Mhm.
but 3/4 of sociology is made up.
Yes, I would stand by that. Yeah,
All right. I mean,
because
I'm
because
inclined
sociology
to
is
agree,
because
actually.
sociology is mostly based on like the feelings that you have about your society, right? Are we happy? Are we not? How do we feel about certain things? How does society going? How does these things make you feel? Uh, and then you have to do polls of 1,000 people, and then you have to put their answers in there, and then even the poll itself, the way you ask the question could lead to you getting a different answer. If you reword the question, you get different answers. That's all made up, yeah. So I would say 3/4 of sociology, all of gender studies, but that's okay. I don't mind. I think that it's still a valuable thing. All of Star Wars is made up, but I love it. Um,
Uh,
doesn't mean it's not
all of it though.
valuable. All of Star Wars? Yeah. I mean, it's based on certain things. Uh, you can say that it mirrors the original trilogy of Star Wars. It mirrors the Vietnam War, right? Or was it Korea? No, I think it was Vietnam. The George Lucas took things that happened in Vietnam, real things, reality, and then put them through an artistic lens. Then gave us Darth Vader, and that's worthwhile. That's not nothing. It's not worthless. Um, I don't think economics is worthless. If that makes us slightly more, I've irritated chat with my malignment towards Star Wars, and I apologize, chat. I shouldn't have done such a thing so late at night because
It's
I'm.
okay, Doc Flips. I'm descended from a survival hunter, if you know what that is.
And just because we make the things up doesn't mean they're not valuable. I mean, there's a made up border between the United States and Mexico, but uh, now you're pissing off chat. All right, before we get completely canceled, anything you want to say to close this out?
Gold team rules.
Excellent. As
Victory
always,
screech.
that's it. You're done. You're canceled now. So today is Wednesday. This is a Wednesday stream. Usually I play video games, but I didn't today. As usual, my name is Waldo, and I always appreciate you coming on, Thomas. Fantastic job tonight. I think we did a whole bunch of streamy stuff.
That was fun.
Yeah, I had a good time. You had a good time. Chat had a good time. The gambling KVP has a problem, man. We're gonna have to have an intervention for this guy. Um, he's got issues. He's still gambling. Ah, he's got issues. We're gonna have to. We're gonna have. How much money has he lost? So much money. Okay. Anyway, now I'm just being silly. Thanks for coming in. Everybody have a good night. And I appreciate everybody. We got a new follower tonight, and it is Sven Gordash. Sven Gordash. Thank you for being a follower. I'm up to 11. I'm in the double digits, baby. To the moon.
There it is.
All right. Thanks. Good night.